thousands of percent of revenue. It's quite astounding to see. Also, we've got a 32-page insert called Best Ottawa Offices, Best Offices Ottawa, that looks at the future offices, something that's on our minds today. So if you're interested in seeing that news magazine, you can visit obj.ca/delivery, or the digital edition, just go to obj.ca, scroll down the page, the thumbnails are right there. Also, please check out our YouTube channel these days. In fact, we'll be doing a special YouTube broadcast next week about the Ukraine to highlight some of the local technology executives who are getting involved in raising money directly for the Ukraine. As we wrap up this morning, let's recognize the great sponsors that support us here. Our lead sponsors, Hydro Ottawa, Algonquin College, Enbridge, the Commissionaires Ottawa, the Westin Ottawa, RBC, Rogers Communications, our global event sponsor, Oakwood Designers and Builders, our speaker or gift sponsor, Eamon Harrington, our coffee sponsor, Capital Office Interiors and Steelcase, and our breakfast sponsors, La Cité. And a shout out for Rogers. We are live on Rogers today to make sure the message of the Charge d'Affaires also gets out to the television audience. Maybe a round of applause for our sponsors. And just two more really quick notes. 40 Under 40, this is the 25th celebration for 40 Under 40, a remarkable awards program that recognizes young entrepreneurs. This weekend is the deadline for nominations, so if you know someone, there's still time to get that in. And I did want to point out that quite appropriately, our guest speaker for the Mayor's Breakfast, that's April 14th, so please mark that in your calendar, will be the Chief of Defence Staff for Canada, General Wayne Eyre, who is also obviously watching the situation in Ukraine with great attention and great interest. So once again, that's April 14th. We're back here once again at City Hall. Please visit ottawabot.ca for ticket information. Thank you. Have a great day.
I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Inform your opinions.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Friday. We made it. And nothing makes snow go away faster than fog. Fog eats snow. According to Cape Breton lore, anyway. The Cape Breton thing. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I guess we'll know by the end of the day. Kind of foggy this morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Rob Snow Show on City News. Great program coming up. Really nice mix, David, I think, to end the week. We've got some politics. We have some entertainment. I have some sports and maybe a little more politics as well. So coming right up, he has been minding Ottawa's business all week. Tom Korski, managing editor, Blacklock's reporter. They've been sinking their teeth into the investigations, the committee hearings that have been happening, and will be ongoing in the aftermath of the trucker protest here in Ottawa. The interim police chief, Steve Bell, appeared at a committee yesterday and came under some intense questioning from a Conservative member of Parliament about firearms. And he was asked, did you find any firearms, any loaded firearms? Have any charges been laid for any alleged firearms-related offenses? So we'll get into all of that. We have some audio from yesterday's committee hearing. Very interesting line of questioning. And, of course, the big deal of the week, the big political agreement between the Liberals and the New Democrats, the peace accord between Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau. What does that mean for committee work? Because it's a minority government, okay, at least it's supposed to be a minority government, and that's supposed to make it a lot more difficult for the governing party, in this case the Liberals, to, get up to monkey business in the committees, filibuster, otherwise delay the work of whatever committee happens to be working away. So I'm going to ask Tom. Tom is such an insider on all of this stuff, has real institutional knowledge about what this new supply and confidence agreement means for the very important work that happens at the committee level. Also on our program this morning, the Mayor of Ottawa, Jim Watson. Much to discuss with Mayor Watson. It has been a busy week at City Hall. And I mean, at City Hall, there was a City Council meeting at City Hall this week. And for the first time in about 2 years, Jim Watson wasn't the only elected representative in the room. There were many city councilors attending in person since the pandemic started more than 2 years ago. So what was it like to have company at the City Council meeting? Get his impressions of that. What actually happened at the City Council meeting this week? There was there was a decision on the vacant unit tax, e-scooters, David's favorite topic, the e-scooters. What do you have against e-scooters anyway? What is your problem with the e-scooters?
I don't like feeling unsafe in my own neighborhood.
They make you feel unsafe.
Yeah,
How do
people
they
rip around on them all the You see 2-3 people with their kids on them.
What? On Netflix right now, you have a Netflix account, right? You have Netflix. Yeah. There's a new show. It's a bunch of stuff by BuzzFeed. And one of the topics that they do, like a 25-minute whole thing on e-scooters and what a scourge they have been in municipalities all across North America. And how some cities have gone so far as to ban them, sue e-scooter companies. It's really interesting. You should watch that.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, you really like
Friday
that.
viewing.
Yeah, e-scooters, the e-scooters. Third year in a row for the e-scooters. And the massive procurement of electric buses. I've spent a lot of time on that story this week. And like a lone voice in the wilderness covering that particular story. Only because of the concerns that are being raised by the city's auditor general, okay? It's not like I'm a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal or something, okay? The Manor Park redevelopment, that made it through the planning committee yesterday. So lots to talk about. The mayor will join us at 9:45. Derick Fage is the host of Daytime Ottawa on Rogers Television. He joins us every Friday at 9:30, one of our regular Friday contributors, never shy about offering up an opinion on the hot news of the day. One of the stories that I have to ask Derick about, and I hope maybe you can comment on this during the talkback hour this morning. It's a Friday free-for-all after all. I had this news report from Tom Spears this morning, the great Ottawa journalist Tom Spears. It's in the Toronto Star. And it's about the renovations that have been happening at Harrington Lake. That is the Prime Minister's summer residence, not Justin Trudeau's summer residence, whoever happens to be the Prime Minister. One part of the gig, one of the sweet parts about being Prime Minister is this really nice summer residence in the Gatineau Hills, Harrington Lake, okay? The cottage, if you will. So according to Tom Spears, reporting for the Toronto Star this morning, they've been doing some work up there. The total renovation tab for the property, all signed off by the National Capital Commission, signed off on all of this, right? Not Trudeau personally, okay? The National Capital Commission is who to be looking at here, I think. I get that. It's not Trudeau's house. I get that. But anyway, the renovation bill for Harrington Lake is approaching $12 million. Like $11.7 million. $11.7 million spent on renovations on that property in just the last 3 years. Okay, that's enough. That's a story in and of itself, but it's really not, to me, the meat and potatoes of the story. The eye popper in the story, I read it again. I still can't believe it. It's the National Capital Commission. Why am I surprised anymore? It's the renovation bill for the kitchen. Just for the kitchen. Are you ready for this? The bill to renovate the kitchen at Harrington Lake. $735,000. $735,000 for kitchen renovations. David, wouldn't you love to see that kitchen?
I have a few questions.
Like, is Bobby Flay the chef at Harrington Lake now? Does he come with the kitchen?
It must be a live-in situation, like a full-time Bobby Flay contract with benefits.
$735,000. I'd love to see that kitchen. Let me read a little bit from this story here, okay? Originally budgeted at $551,000 for kitchen renovations. We're talking about a kitchen. It climbed to $648,000 and later to $735,000. The kitchen bill included $52,000 for a design consultant. Right? Have these people not heard of IKEA? You can go out to IKEA. They design the whole kitchen for you. Sit right down right there. Go through the whole thing. You know, this is how much the cupboards will be. $52,000 for a design consultant. Who was the designer? Ralph Lauren? Banksy? Like, who was it? $52,000 to design a kitchen. We're talking about designing a kitchen. You know, the cupboards go there, the appliances go there. You like stainless steel? Stovetop there, countertops there. $52,000, $735,000. Come on. Am I small town cheap? Am I being small town cheap when I question spending like that? Is that do I come across as small town cheap? Small town cheap, maybe, fine. I'm $735,000. I remember when you used to be able to buy a whole house in the Gatineau Hills for $735,000, not just renovate the kitchen. I'm not blaming Mr. Trudeau. These decisions are made by the NCC. Who at the NCC is approving a contract like that? And do they live in the real world? Queen's Park Weekend Review's coming up. The Premier of Ontario is in Ottawa today. Doug Ford and the Health Minister, Christine Elliott. An 11 o'clock announcement. I'm told it's about funding for the Ottawa Hospital Civic Campus. That's all I've been told. I know nothing more. The Toronto Star is reporting, meantime, the Trudeau government is willing to sweeten the pot if that's what it takes for Doug Ford to come to an agreement with the feds on $10 a day childcare. MPP panel, 11:30, always a lot of fun. And Jim Cuddy is on our show this morning from Blue Rodeo. I am really looking forward to this. Right after the 11 o'clock news. They're on tour now, Blue Rodeo. New album out. It's been out for a few months now. Came out in December. And the Blue Rodeo concert's in Ottawa, Canadian Tire Center 2 weeks from today. I have 3 pairs of tickets to give away to that concert. We'll figure out a way to give them away throughout the show, okay? If you want to see Blue Rodeo, I love Blue Rodeo. Man, I love Blue Rodeo. They're just one of those bands. They've just been part of my musical life since I was, well, much younger and much thinner. They've sold 4 million albums, an incredible career. Just a truly Canadian sound, a unique country rock feel of theirs. And every Rob Snow show includes a talkback hour. That's between 10 and 11 o'clock. Maybe we can talk about the $735,000 kitchen. Whatever you want to talk about. We're pretty much wide open on topics during the Friday free-for-all. There's been lots of news this week. You want to comment on any of it, go right ahead. Doesn't have to be in the news at all. Maybe it's something you think should be in the news. Whatever it happens to be, we're usually good to go. after the 10 o'clock news. Coming right up, Tom Korski from Blacklock's reporter on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
And here are the rest of your Ottawa 67! Sean Callahan from behind his own net. Moskowitz, there's a giveaway. Here's Byers, shot right on. Mrazek has it.
Ottawa has, for the most part, carried the play in the last 3 or 4 games here, and this is when Barrie's got their chances on poor puck management, puck decisions right there. Ill-advised pass, not a good pass, a turnover, creates the first scoring chance and shot on net for the Barrie Colts in this game. This is what Ottawa's got to do better of tonight, is making sure that their puck management is good, they're crisp and they're solid when they have it.
That's the first action. Scores! The Barrie Colts draw first blood. It's Greg Such. Smith out there now for Ottawa. He's going to head in front of the net. Oh, dig it away, scores! Dalton Smith tapped in front of the net. We are tied at 1. Back to the point. Callahan shot's blocked. And here comes McDonald with a head of steam. Shot scores! McDonald with the long shot. And the Barrie Colts take a 2-1 lead. Back to the point. CC walks. Shot. Scores! Cody CC.
It might have been deflected right away, right when he took the shot. Something changed on the way to the net.
It dipped as it got close to the net. I noticed that, and good cycling. Gus does a great job of being patient with the puck, bringing 2 guys to him.
And he'll win it back to the point. CC. Here's Prince. Traffic in front. Down low. Trying to get scores! With 24.1 seconds to go. An icing. Oh, waved off at the last second. Bahena trying to track it down. Rolls deep into the Ottawa zone. CC to meet him. Trying to center it. Bouncing puck in the crease. Scores! With 8.7 to go. Mark Scheifele ties it at 3. Force McNeil to hustle back. Niederberger steers it away. Gustus right on it. Scores! Brad Gustafson from the boards. The Ottawa 67s advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. The little man comes up big for the Ottawa 67s.
He'll never score a bigger goal.
No, that's for sure.
Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Tom Korski has been minding Ottawa's business all week as the managing editor for Blacklock's reporter. Good morning.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm good. You remember that line, small town cheap? You remember that line from the Chrétien years, small town cheap?
Immortal line.
Yeah. I think it was Gomery said that to Chrétien, small town cheap. And then Chrétien responded by pulling out the golf balls at the Gomery Commission. Yes,
that's right.
Small town cheap. And he was going on about Ogilvy Renault, and they're not small town cheap at Ogilvy Renault. They're Westmount cheap, which is an oxymoron. Stephen, you ever renovate your kitchen, Tom? Ever renovate your kitchen?
That's one of those projects we like to put off. But
Yeah.
I don't know where you're going with this, Rob. So you're saying that this was not a prudent use of taxpayers' money? Is that what I'm? Is that
Well, I'm just suggesting that's $735,000 for kitchen renovations is just maybe a little excessive. But what do I know? I haven't been in the kitchen. I haven't seen it. It must be quite something, quite a sight to behold for a cottage, what amounts to a cottage, summer retreat. But nevertheless, Blacklock's reporter, you cover a lot of committee hearings. So this week, the big bombshell politically in Ottawa is the supply and confidence agreement between the Trudeau Liberals and the Singh New Democrats. 3 years, no election, We will not defeat you on any confidence motion. What does that mean for committee business? Just, one example comes to mind. Let's say the committee wants to investigate why those scientists were fired from that lab in Winnipeg, for example. Did it just get easier for the Liberals to, say, prevent hard questions from being answered? Just how is all of this going to work? What's your understanding?
Yeah, exactly. In theory, according to the written, really what is a vote swap, that the New Democrat 25-member caucus will play nice. But it gets complicated, which is why no one thinks this is going to last 3 years. Who thinks that? I mean, it's not, because it's log rolling. Exactly what you just said, Rob. You're going to go into a committee, and it's going to happen in 6 minutes. There'll be a motion. It's going to be embarrassing to Cabinet. But you have to face your electors, too, whichever MP you are. And that's where it gets really complicated. And you're going to have all these MPs, scores of them, assigned to these committees. They all have their own agendas. And it gets very complicated very quickly. We cover committees, by the way, not because it's an academic exercise. This is the only point of contact between the general public and Parliament. And it is the only place where you have probative questioning of federal managers. It gets pretty hot, Rob. And so it's not enough to say, I think, look, we have this agreement that my leader signed a few months back. It is like log rolling. It's quite spontaneous and exciting.
Yeah, it certainly can be. And it was pretty hot yesterday at the House of Commons Public Safety Committee, where they're looking into some of what unfolded during the truckers' protest here in Ottawa and the claims that were made about firearms. There was tremendous worry about things turning violent, that there could be a cache of firearms. There was reporting that there were loaded firearms, that some of the truckers had loaded firearms. So we're going to play some audio. This is a Conservative member of Parliament from a place called, the riding is called Sturgeon River Parkland, Alberta riding. His name is Dane Lloyd, and he is questioning the interim police chief here in Ottawa, Steve Bell, about firearms charges. Roll tape.
In Ottawa, during the protest clearing operation, were any loaded shotguns found in the trucks of protesters?
Mr. Chair, what I can indicate is throughout the protest, we did receive information and intelligence around weapons and the possession of weapons by people that either had attended or intended on attending the occupation. As a result of the clearing, at no point did we lay any firearms-related charges, yet there are investigations that continue in relation to weapons possessions at the occupation.
I guess yes or no, Interim Chief, were loaded firearms found in the trucks during the protest clearing operation? Yes or no?
So as I indicated, Mr. Chair, there has been no charges laid to date in relations to weapons at the occupation site.
It's just a clear question, Interim Chief. Like, were weapons found? Like, were loaded firearms found? Yes or no?
So, in relation to no, not relating to any charges to this point.
All right. Why is that significant, Tom?
Yeah, that's called bad log rolling. I don't think Chief Bell enjoyed himself. It's significant because of this. Cabinet used extraordinary powers to grant police the extraordinary ability to take measures against the political protesters that under normal circumstances would be illegal, like freezing your bank account without notice or a court warrant. They did that. You have to have justification for that. Cabinet has a serious problem, Rob. Their little helpers, Mayor Watson, Chief Bell, have put out these allegations that Freedom Convoy protesters tried to burn down a building and kill people in their beds, that they had loaded shotguns in their trucks, that they were funded by foreign millionaires, that it was a Nazi insurrection. The problem is there's no evidence of that. So this starts to look like a political hit job. That makes a lot of people who care about civil liberties really uncomfortable. I don't think Chief Bell enjoyed himself yesterday.
So there's going to be an 11-member joint committee of MPs and senators. They're going to look into Cabinet invoking these extraordinary police powers under the Emergencies Act. What more is known today about how wide or narrow that mandate will be?
As anyone who watches hockey knows, many a game is decided by the rules, and they are arguing tooth and nail about the rules. But there was one MP, Matt Green, Hamilton Center, New Democrat, who said last night, Robin, it was profound, and he voted for the Emergencies Act crackdown on the truck drivers. He's not a friend of the Freedom Convoy. He said, boys, play it straight. Just warning you, just letting you know. And he's looking at government caucus members. He said, no conspiracy, no concealing evidence, don't be clever, no legal parsing of words. Play this absolutely straight because the Freedom Convoy represented a degree of public cynicism that did not go away. Don't be clever. It's going to be interesting, Rob.
How many Afghan nationals who aided Canadian forces and pleaded to enter Canada, how many have been admitted into Canada now?
Sad. About 9,000 applied. About 6,000 were accepted. Fewer than 3,000. In fact, it's about 2,300 have been accepted. A quarter of those who applied after 8 months.
8 months. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Okay. And finally this morning, I'm not a big fan of snitch lines, but the CRA has one. And I understand that when the money was rolling out, like CERB checks and the like, the CRA's snitch line was ringing off the hook. What do you know about that?
Yeah, off the hook. Volume doubled. They usually get 30,000 tips from informants. Hey, I think Charlene next door, she doesn't, right? One of those? It doubled to 60,000. 60,000, and that was, according to the CRA audits, a complete response to the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, those famous $2,000 CERB checks.
Okay. Hey, Tom Korski, thanks for the update, and great work again by you and your team this week. We'll talk soon.
Thank you kindly, Rob.
Bye-bye. Tom Korski is the managing editor of Ottawa's Blacklock's Reporter. Coming up next, Derick Fage, the host of Daytime Ottawa on Rogers TV. This is City News.
In Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 25th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 3 degrees, in Smiths Falls, 4, and here's what's making news this hour. The Russian foreign minister says his country is facing total war that has been declared by the West. Sergei Lavrov says Russia is facing total war, and he says the goal is to destroy, break, annihilate, strangle the Russian economy and Russia as a whole. But he says Russia will not be isolated. He was referring to the measures taken by Western countries, including Canada, on the Russian economy. Ukraine's charge d'affaires for the embassy in Ottawa was a guest at the mayor's breakfast this morning. He told local businesses he will distribute his contact info to any business that wishes to help with any Ukrainian relief. The Premier, the Mayor, and the Health Minister all attending an announcement this morning in the city at 11 o'clock. No word on the specifics just yet, but stay with City News for more on this developing story. Ottawa police say a missing 14-year-old from the Canada area has now been found safe. She had been missing from Shepherd's Glen Avenue since March 7th. The Ottawa Police Service thanked members of the community for their assistance in locating her. City News Time, 9:31. I'm Andrew Boyle. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Derick Fage is the host of Daytime Ottawa on Rogers Television. And he's with us every Friday morning here on City News. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rob. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Hope you had a good week. You have a good week?
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
That's
excellent
good.
week.
Excellent.
It's back in the groove. It feels great.
All right. I don't know. This story, it's the kind of story that drives people like me crazy. You're not supposed to sweat the small stuff, and kitchen renovations are kind of the small stuff, I guess, in the grand scheme of things when you look at the size of the debt and the deficit. But that's what it is. It's because a number that you can sort of wrap your head around. Okay?
Right.
Kitchen renovation for $735,000. Okay? All right? Let me ask you, Derick. You ever renovate your kitchen? We
actually did a major renovation of our kitchen at our cottage. Now,
okay, at your cottage. Okay, this is very comparable. Okay, excellent. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, ours was quite different because we actually had friends who owned a beautiful home out in Dunrobin, and they decided that they wanted to modernize their kitchen. They were getting rid of their old kitchen. They have a fairly large home, so they had actually sold us their old kitchen, and it was big enough that my wife, who's an architect, she could piece it together and we could put it into our cottage. So it came in at a rather very, very affordable low cost. It certainly didn't come at anything close to $735,000.
You got a second-hand kitchen. You got a hand-me-down kitchen.
We did. I mean, and it's beautiful. Like
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
It'll blow you away. It's kind of, I would say it's sort of a French country kitchen style, and it's all Thomasville cabinetry, which is, quite expensive cabinetry, but because we got it secondhand and because we had to piece it together and so forth, they were very kind in the cost for us. But I mean, looking at $735,000, I mean, it's the most expensive.
Like I don't know. Like how much do you figure a kitchen renovation should run somebody? 20, 30 grand, 50 grand?
I'm thinking about 40 to 50 grand.
40 to 50 grand, really? Okay.
If you're going all out, it could certainly end up costing you in the $100,000, $150,000 mark. I mean, then
but you must be going super high end.
Oh, that would be high end.
Spare no expense.
Countertops, cabinets, everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Smokes.
All the fixtures would be high end for sure. Yeah. But this $735,000. Can they just fix the Prime Minister's residence itself? Never.
Well, why now? I see. Now I'm saying no. Now we have fixed the Prime Minister's residence. This is it. It's Harrington Lake.
This is it.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to consider this the official residence.
Why not? We put $11.7 million in fixes to it. $11.7 million. It's quite enough, I think. It's quite enough.
Are you sure?
And, and plus, isn't that a good spot for the Prime Minister's residence?
Well, it is. It's
really
kind of a strange spot for somebody's cottage, that's for sure. I mean, I wish my cottage was 10 minutes away.
No, but when you think of, the need for security for a world leader and these kinds of things, like, actually being up there and, at the end of a road that you can, where you can control the traffic in and out and
So what do we do with the official residence then? What do we
You
just tear
bulldoze
down?
it, and what I would do is, I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I would put it up for sale, but I would only let qualified buyers, and by that I mean you have to put a diplomatic residence there, or an embassy there, or something of
Can we turn it into a public space?
significance. You could do that. I mean, you can't. I mean, where it is, you can't put a condo tower there.
No. We don't.
Right?
It cannot.
It can't be a Shopify multi-million-dollar mansion or something like that.
No, I'm thinking like let's fix it up. Maybe not to the cost of what it's going to be now, because what are the estimates now of fixing the road? It must.
It's like $50 million. No, it's like $50 million, $50 million. Yeah.
I'm just saying, can we make it a public space? Like turn it into a museum of some kind? One of these small, like a Bytown museum kind of place where you can go, and then you could go enjoy the grounds and have picnics and throw around a frisbee. I don't know. Trying to think outside the box a bit. I don't know if
what are they thinking at the National Capital Commission? How does like according to Tom's report, Tom Spears has this. The Ottawa journalist Tom Spears has this for the Toronto Star today. Like the original budget was $550,000.
I don't know.
What are they
the NCC.
What are they thinking at the NCC? It's I'm not putting it on Trudeau. Some people will put it on. Well, Trudeau. Look, only the best for Trudeau.
No,
I get that, right? What are they like? The people at the NCC are approving these contracts,
and they're pretty. I mean, the NCC for their part. I mean, and for the federal government's part over the years, they have been pretty arm's length quite a bit, right? They don't necessarily seem to. Speak to each other and come up with, plans with each other and that sort of thing. I just wonder if it's time to, I think I might understand where you're going is can we reevaluate the NCC and what they do?
Well, I think if you're going to spend, if you are spending $735,000 on a kitchen renovation, okay, I want to know how that decision is made. Okay? Yeah. How is that decision made?
It needs to be
Is this, was there like a competitive process here? Was this sole sourced? Are there any potential conflicts of interest here?
Yeah.
Are contractors like the NCC, contractors see the NCC coming, they just get dollar signs in their eyes and they're going to triple the price, quadruple the price? Like what's going into
sure
it? Nobody in the right mind. Nobody in the right mind approves a $735,000 kitchen renovation.
No.
I'm sorry.
It's like
no way.
When you tell people the flower shop that you're having a wedding, and all of a sudden the flowers are triple. I mean, this is the same situation that you have with the Prime Minister's summer retreat.
Yeah, like it's a big house. It's an 8,000 square foot house, but still, I don't know.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and we've got to. It's got to be. We have to get to a point where we get to see how these decisions are made, because this is our money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always said to David, one of my pet peeves is, when you hear on the radio, paid for by the Ontario government. No. Like, can we change that to paid for by the taxpayers
paid
of
for
Ontario?
This.
Exactly. Paid for by the taxpayers of Canada, not paid for by the federal government. They don't pay for anything. We pay for all of it.
This week was the end of the mask mandate.
Yes.
I did not change my behavior at all. I didn't. I didn't even really think about it, to be honest with you. And I haven't been to too many places, but I don't. I just wherever I go, I still see people wearing masks. It's as though nothing has really changed. I just don't think mentally people are quite ready to go maskless just yet. My own impression. What's yours?
Yeah, I had about the same thing. We had some errands to run yesterday, and we probably stopped at 4 different spots. Most people had masks. I guess probably the most surprising was it was about 50-50 of the staff within each establishment that didn't have masks, where I felt that the people going to the establishments, the customers, was about a 75% that they had masks. Now, I mean, masked or not, I wasn't bothered either way. We went to a Best Buy, and the guy talking to us, was maskless. He stayed his distance away from us. I wasn't necessarily uncomfortable, but I'm still wearing mine. My wife is still wearing hers. She was surprised when she went out a couple of days before that, and she she was told by some people, the mask mandates have ended. And she was like, okay, yeah. And even some of the staff were like, ma'am, you don't have to wear that anymore. The mask mandates have ended,
Right.
She's okay. Right. But nothing got ugly. That's the good part. I didn't get any comments from anyone. Didn't even get, a sideways look from anyone. So that I take away as a huge positive, because that was certainly a big concern for a lot of us, right?
Right. Yeah. It just does not seem to have changed anybody's behavior. Like if there were, I guess if people were thinking there's this big desire for ending this symbol of tyranny, the mask. I just don't get. It's not what I'm seeing out there. Just personally, anecdotally.
Well, don't forget.
guess,
mean, most of us got vaccinated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the majority of people, I guess, are I would say still those people are still cautious. And I've heard other people say, right, listen, I'm also protecting myself and others from cold and flu and spreading other things. So I'm going to keep it for the time being.
Okay. All right, we got a few minutes left. Let's play a little music here. Let's play some music here.
Okay.
We're going to play some music, okay? Cuddy of Blue Rodeo today. I wonder if he can still hit that high note there. Man, oh man, that's great stuff.
Such a great band. One of my wife's favorite bands of all time as well. I had a chance actually to introduce Jim Cuddy and meet Jim. I have a great picture of myself with Jim Cuddy and Daniel Alfredson, because I was hosting the Royal Ottawa Impression Awards, and Jim, not that time. That was Ringside for Youth, Ringside for Youth, and Jim Cuddy was the opening, and Daniel Alfredson was a sponsor, and I was emceeing, and they opened the evening in the cocktail area. It wasn't the full band, but it was Jim Cuddy and a couple of guys from the band, and Daniel Alfredson was there, and he was fantastic. I mean, what a great voice. Great guy, too, right? Like a real good.
Greg Keeler, kind of his partner in crime. We interviewed him last year when he had a solo project out, and still couldn't perform live, and he was wonderful too. And now they're back together, and they're going to play Ottawa Canadian Tire Center 2 weeks from today. We have some tickets to give away, so I'm really looking forward to that. They have been together 35 years.
Hard to believe.
35 years.
35 years.
16 albums. 16 albums. Yeah. It's great stuff. So that's coming up. What time are we doing that, David? 11:15?
Quarter after. Yeah. Jim Cuddy will be here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, I'm going to listen in.
I don't think he's going to be here because I think they're playing in Summerside, Prince Edward Island tonight.
He will be here on the phone.
Yeah, on the phone.
COVID protocols follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, Derick, great to talk to you this week. We'll talk next week. Rob. Have a wonderful week. And thank you again. Yeah, bye-bye. Derick Fage is the host of Daytime Ottawa on Rogers Television. Jim Watson is the mayor of Ottawa. He'll join us next on City News.
Was this inspired by your own kids and the difficulties that you had getting them to brush?
Yes, absolutely. So my 3-year-old at the time, we went to the dentist and she was complaining that her teeth were hurting. And we found out she had 10 cavities. For those that don't know, 10 cavities out of 20 teeth, that was half of her teeth. I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. We had to change her diet a little bit, and that was easy. The hard part was getting her to continue brushing her teeth. So she underwent 2 surgeries to get all of her 10 cavities fixed, and then she had to get 8 metal caps, and then she went back for an emergency procedure to pull one of the metal tooths. I guess the nerve was exposed. So the poor thing went through so much, and I had to think of something. So she brought a plushie, and it helped comfort her. And I was like, okay, I need something that's going to help long term. Like, how can I get her to continue brushing her teeth? So I said, this plushie is going to report back to the Tooth Fairy back at Tooth Fairyland. And then that's when I created the thought of, okay, we need Toothy. So Toothy is actually there to comfort the children when they go to the dentist. They're also there to put in the bathroom so that Toothy watches them brushing their teeth and is approved by dental hygienists. I have raving fans from dental offices, and also the Tooth Fairy absolutely loves this, and I'll show you why. On the back, there's a pocket.
Okay.
So that the children can put their lost tooth that they lost in here, and the Tooth Fairy will come. Yeah, the Tooth Fairy will come and take it and put the money. But Toothy gets to stay with the child.
Of course. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
my ultimate goal is obviously the book, because it educates children on proper dental hygiene. However, Toothy is a game changer for shaping our children into adults who are not fearful of the dentist.
Yeah.
I was able to present to a school in New York, all over Ottawa, obviously. A lot of our local family and friends have pre-ordered the book. In the States and Georgia, all over. I will be presenting in Singapore next week, and daycares. So anyone who pre-orders, you can personally nominate a school of your choice, or a daycare, or a facility. I actually presented at a college for dental students. So yes, it's geared towards children 0 to 8 years old. However, senior homes I presented in, they get a kick out of it. It's a cute rhyming book.
Where can people go to your Kickstarter and, of course, get a copy of the book and their own Toothy?
Yes, so Kickstarter is actually going to be almost closed, so I don't want people to feel rushed. They can go to my website at My Friend Toothy. So again, My Friend Toothy, and they could pre-order there.
On Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM.
And 1310 AM.
He is the mayor of Ottawa, Jim Watson. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Same to you, sir. Great to hear from you. Busy week at City Hall, and you had some company at City Hall this week. What was it like? For the first time in about 2 years, you weren't the only elected representative in the room. How did that feel?
Well, for those 2 years, I felt like the Maytag repairman. It was a pretty bizarre feeling. You're in this big chamber, and you're sitting at a desk, and there's maybe 5 or 6 other people working, for Rogers, the TV people, and the clerk, and so on. So it was actually very nice to see people come back. We're slowly getting our staff to come back as well, which is important to help the local economy, and we believe that having these meetings face to face, I think, are more productive. We're still doing a hybrid. Some people are able to call in, and it actually worked well. I think even John Willing and the Citizen said it was glitch-free, which was
yes,
which was nice, because as you know, Rob, from your background in dealing with business and technology isn't always our friend. So it was a good start to getting back to work.
Yeah, I noticed Councillor Tierney gave some kudos to the clerk, the city clerk, I guess.
Yes. No.
She had her hands full. Let's just say that, right? So
yeah, because we'd never done a hybrid like that. We've been, as you pointed out, the last 2 years, it's all been done remotely, and so I think it worked, and particularly on winter days, if you're a councillor from Osgood or Cumberland and there's a bad snowstorm and the roads are tough, it's probably a good option to give those folks the opportunity to speak remotely, as opposed to trying to make their way in during a blizzard.
Okay. The provincial government, by way of the Solicitor General's office, has just announced the provincial appointees to the Ottawa Police Services Board. There were vacancies there. What is your reaction to these appointees?
Well, I haven't seen the list actually formally, so we've got... we were given a heads up that it was coming, but I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's the same names they talked to us about a couple days ago.
Okay. Well, I guess what I really want to get at is how hopeful are you now that some of the instability at the Police Services Board is now behind it?
I feel very confident. Eli El-Shantiri, as you know, Rob, was the chair for 12 years, very well regarded by the community and as well as the police community and the broader community. And he chaired the police service board organization at the provincial level. And we just appointed Kathy Curry, new dynamic councillor from Canada North, and she's our fourth member. So these three names that have been announced today brings the board up to full contingency or full allocation, and they have a lot of work on their plate. They've got to do the review or participate in the review of what went wrong during the convoy. They have to hire a new chief, and they've got to start working on their budget as well.
How long do you expect that process to take to hire a permanent replacement for Chief Slowly?
Well, because they went through it just a couple years ago, I think the information is still fresh, and whether they decide to go and do a national search with a headhunting firm or whether it's an internal competition, that's up to the board. But it should, you're talking months, not years, because you want to bring some stability back to the police service. We've gone through a lot, as you know. We went through that whole chaotic period where Chief Slowly resigned one day. The next day, the old board appointed, interim Chief Bell, and then the next day they appointed someone from Waterloo, who subsequently withdrew his application. And so we had three chiefs in 3 days. That was not the police board's finest hour, and I'm glad that I think Eli will bring that kind of stability to the organization, which is needed, because we've been through a lot. Forget the convoy, that was bad enough, but we've been through over 2 years with the pandemic, which has frayed a lot of people's nerves and affected a lot of people's mental health and well-being, affected the business community terribly. So,
yeah, and there's also, there was also hope that progress was being made on race relations between the Ottawa Police Service and racialized communities, and that with the departure of Chief Slowly, that maybe there's been some backsliding on that.
Well, I disagree with you, because Chief Slowly's only been gone for a couple of weeks, so to suggest there's a backsliding.
No, but fear that there could be backsliding.
I think we've got to look at Chief Bell, the interim chief, has a very strong track record in the community, working with multicultural groups, the GLBT community, and so on. Even the face of the police service. You go to the graduation ceremonies for the police, and it's very, very diversified than it was 20 years ago. A lot of women, a lot of members of New Canadians, and so you want the police service to be reflective of the community. And I think they, chiefs, including going back to Bordelot and Fern White and Brian Ford, all did their parts to make the police service more accountable and more reflective of the community. And, hopefully the new chief, whoever that is, whether it's Chief Bell is asked to take on the big job or they go for someone else, I think there's a good infrastructure in place to make sure that we have a police service that we can continue to be very proud of.
Okay, the council,
not perfect, but the one is.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. The council has endorsed this call for an intergovernmental working group to, quote, modernize, clarify, and strengthen the integration of Ottawa's capital, jurisdictional responsibilities, and security needs. What do you want to see come of this?
Well, it's a bit of an organizational dog's breakfast when you think of it. You've got the PPS, Parliamentary Protective Service, on the Hill. You've got the RCMP that have a role protecting the Prime Minister. You've got the city police that patrol Wellington Street. You've got the OPP that patrol the highways, and we have the military police. Excuse me. Down the road, let me just get a glass of water.
Sure thing, Mr. Mayor.
The military police that protect DND installations, including their headquarters on Colonel By Drive. So the two motions, one by Councillor Fleury and the other by Councillor Dudas, are complementary to one another. We have to get our act together to make sure that, if another serious breach of security is about to happen, we can deal with it much quicker and more nimbly in a more nimble fashion, and make sure that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, because we saw with the testimony yesterday, the OPP only got information out from their intelligence sources I think a week after the convoy had already been squatting on Wellington Street. So it's really just to do a better job of coordinating these kinds of activities, because each organization has their role, and sometimes they work in silos, and we've got to break down those silos.
Okay. I had a chance to interview the Auditor General of the City of Ottawa this week. She had a report presented to the council raising quite a few concerns that the procurement for the electric buses is being rushed, 74 of them to be purchased this summer. What's your reaction to that report?
Well, I think Natalie is a great Auditor General. She's just been on the job for a couple of months, and she's done remarkable work in a very short period of time, comes from the private sector, which I think is good to have that outside perspective. I think she was just, telling us to be cautious because, electric buses are still relatively new, and as you know, over the years, governments make decisions and go all in for, one particular product, and then it turns out not to be that great. You think of the articulated buses in winter conditions, don't always work that well. Even things like, city fathers and mothers, a century ago decided to plant a lot of emerald ash. And guess what? You plant the same tree in every neighborhood, you lose all the trees. So hers was a tale of caution, go in eyes wide open. Mm-hmm. We've had 4 buses now for the last couple of months being tested in really bad winter conditions, and they'll go into the spring season and the summer, and that will be also a guiding post for us. So far, I'm told by staff they're working really well. You can barely hear them. I think that's one of the problems that you have with electric cars. There's no noise, so you've got to be cautious of people walking, and getting hit by a bus or an electric car.
All right. One more final question here. You are not seeking another term. You made that known, but you did seek a third term and secured a third term. Your colleague in Toronto, Mayor Tory, is seeking a third term. What would be your advice to him as he seeks a third term as Mayor of Toronto?
Don't do it. John and I, we get along very well. It was funny because he was the leader of the opposition when I was in cabinet, so we used to heckle each other. But he's a great mayor, I've got to say, and I think he's right to go for another term, quite frankly, because I don't see anyone else on the horizon that could bring the gravitas to the position that he does. He's great to work with at the Big City Mayor's Caucus. I only say that jokingly because I had also 6 years as a councillor and 3 years as mayor before that, and then 7 years as an MPP. So I was getting along in the tooth, and it was time for me to move on. John's only really been he's elected just for a very short period of time as the leader of the PC party, and he didn't win his seat in the election. And then he's only, been mayor for 2 terms. So I think he'll do a great job. We're losing a lot of good mayors. The mayor of Calgary didn't run again. The mayor of Edmonton didn't run again. The mayor of Quebec City, Gatineau, our neighbor. So there's lots. It's good to have some new blood at the table as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nice to talk to you. Glad you're well.
Yep, thank you.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye. Bye-bye. Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson. Talkback Hour. Friday free-for-all, 750-1310. Wide open on topics. You come up with the topics. We don't come up with the topics. After the news on City News.
There we go.
Hey, going back in, okay?
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
I love to make abundance boards. And why do I call them abundance boards? Because they're an abundance of all the things that you love together. There's no rhyme or reason, there's no rules. It's literally about taking a whole bunch of different ingredients and making them into something that you love, that you can snack on. Maybe curl up on the couch and have a snack night. Charcuterie is all about a meat plate. And antipasti is all about a little bit of meat, a little bit of fruit, and a little bit of snack that you might have at the beginning of a meal, like an appetizer. I like to take all of these concepts and kind of mesh them together. It's kind of like a work of art because you're creating something delicious, but you're also creating something that looks super fancy, like from a gourmet style restaurant, but just using simple things you have.
Ottawa is a very political city, and it's not just political with the people in Parliament. You got street politics, you got business politics, you got basketball politics, and if you don't know how to navigate the systems, you get left behind. I did. They thought I went crazy. They thought I was dead. I was. But it's never too late to heal, to rebuild, to reinvent yourself. Prezi.
Is City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News. Now on 1011 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 25th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 6 degrees. In Smiths Falls, 5. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Ukrainian President Zelensky has called on Ukrainians to keep up resistance to Russia's invading forces. Authorities in Mariupol claim 300 people were killed in a strike on a theater in that city last week. The death toll announced in a post on the city government Telegram channel, citing eyewitnesses. James Longman reports on the situation in that city today.
Now, Russia's dark ambition for the city clear, permanent occupation. But Ukrainian fighters aren't giving up. As Russia gives out aid to the very people it's made homeless, a top Russian official has said they're here to stay.
Now, Ukraine has also accused Moscow of forcibly taking hundreds of thousands of civilians to Russia so they could be used as hostages to pressure for a surrender. Now, Russia has responded. That is Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who says Russia is facing total war now that has been declared by the West. At a meeting today, Lavrov says the goal was to destroy, break, annihilate, strangle the Russian economy and Russia on the whole, with sanctions imposed on that country. But Lavrov says Russia is not isolated. The country has reported its war dead as well. The deputy head of Russia's military general staff says 1,351 Russian soldiers have died in Ukraine, 3,825 so far wounded. City News Time 10:03. This morning's mayor's breakfast in Ottawa welcomed the charge d'affaires at the Ukrainian embassy. Andriy Bukvich with a message for Ottawa.
Thank you, Ottawa City, for standing with Ukraine these days, for becoming blue and yellow as a sign of solidarity. Thank you, business community of this wonderful city, for standing with Ukraine in these difficult times. We really appreciate your support and humanitarian aid.
He says he will be distributing his contact info to business leaders who would like to directly assist Ukraine in its fight against Russia. The trio of provincial civic and politicians will be at the Civic Hospital in the next hour or so. The trio, including the mayor, also the health minister, and the premier will all be at the Civic for an announcement. They have not released what that announcement is concerning. Métis, First Nation, and Inuit delegates are flying to Rome this weekend ahead of meetings with Pope Francis next week. For 8 Métis delegates going to the Vatican, the trip is not about demanding an apology from Pope Francis for the church's role in residential schools. Cassidy Caron, the president of the Métis National Council, says they do expect one when he visits Canada, though that is scheduled for some point in the future. And Ottawa police say a missing 14-year-old from the Canada area has been found safe. This is the one who had been missing from Shepherd's Glen Avenue since March 7th. Ottawa Police Service thanked the members of the community for their assistance in locating her. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Talk back.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
With the Friday free-for-all, our favorite hour of the week around here. Because we don't come up with the topics, we've been doing that all week. So it's your turn. You come up with topics, okay? And we'll just do our best to roll with it. We usually talk about things that have been in the news because, we all watch the news, listen to the news, read the news. We're all news junkies around here. It doesn't have to be in the news, not like carved in stone or anything, but maybe it's something you think should be in the news. Whatever that thing happens to be, 750-1310, 750-1310, 750-1310, okay? I really want to, I'll raise one topic, and then we'll get to some of your calls, 750-1310. Has anyone renovated their kitchen lately? I would like to start right there with the Friday free-for-all. Have you renovated your kitchen? Okay. I'm bringing this up. There's a news hook here, okay? It's an incredible news story, really, about kitchen renovations in the Toronto Star. If you renovated your kitchen recently, are you willing to tell me how much you spent on that? And what did you get for the money? Okay? Or if you're in the kitchen renovation business, okay? If you do this for a living, what is a top of the line, I mean top o the line, kitchen renovation going for these days? According to a report in the Toronto Star by Ottawa area journalist Tom Spears, the kitchen renovation for Harrington Lake, which is the summer retreat for Prime Ministers of Canada, that kitchen renovation cost $735,000. You heard me right, $735,000. I am not making this up, okay? It's in Canada's most widely read newspaper this morning. $735,000. The original budget from the National Capital Commission, $551,000, and then it only went up from there, and part of the bill includes $52,000, which is roughly what the average Canadian worker, the middle class, those working hard to join it, $52,000. Gross income, $52,000, was paid to a design consultant just to design the kitchen. Costs $52,000. I mean, is it just me? Or does that sound like it's a little on the high side for some kitchen renovations? Used to be a time you get a whole house in the Gatineau Hills for $735,000, and even a nice house. Have you ever heard of such a bill for a kitchen renovation? What would you expect for that kind of money? Even in an industrial type kitchen, like a catering type kitchen. Although I don't know if you'd need something like that at Harrington Lake. It's a part-time residence, for crying out loud. And dignitaries, they don't stay there all that often. Not to my recollection anyway. Gosh, it seems to be on the high side to me. But look, I'm open-minded. If there's a reasonable explanation that we can come to together that would explain this kind of bill, I'm open to hearing it. Or if you want to rant and tee off on the National Capital Commission spending $735,000 of your money to renovate a kitchen at the summer home for the Prime Minister. And yes, I get it. It's not Trudeau's house. It's the Prime Minister's house. Whoever happens to be the Prime Minister, I get that. I understand that. Sure. And it should be nice. Yes, it should be. It should be worthy of a world leader. But does that mean you throw all spending constraints out the window? Have they all lost their heads over there? I'm not blaming Trudeau for this, but I can't help but wonder how does the NCC approve spending that kind of money on a kitchen? We chased poor Bev Odo out of office over a glass of expensive orange juice, for crying out loud. Here we have $735,000 for kitchen renovations for a summer home. Hey, maybe you have a comment on that? What do you think? Does anybody want to comment on that? Let's take this one here. Brendan, Blackburn Hamlet. Brendan, you're on City News. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Brendan.
I wish people would quit crapping all over the NCC.
Oh, really? Okay.
I have lived here on an NCC rental home for over 20 years.
All right.
I do my own renovations internally in the kitchen. I'm mechanically and electronically
inclined.
Okay. And please, the NCC have been so kind to me,
Oh,
and they have done anything I wanted them to do.
Well, that's good. That's
just
good to hear.
ask. But when it comes to kitchen renovations, I can repair my own fridge and stove and whatever.
Yeah.
At no cost.
Maybe we should send you up to Harrington Lake then, Brendan. We could save the taxpayers a few bucks, I think.
Yeah, that is politics.
I don't know. I think it's insanity myself. Brad, Richmond. Brad, you're on City News. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Brad.
I was just calling about that $3 an hour wage enhancement for the PSWs that seems to have been put on the back burner.
Okay.
I've been in the healthcare sector for about 15, 20 years here now, and it just feels like just another empty promise, right? Because we're getting so close to election.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much wanting to point that one out because I think it's like.
So how much are PSWs making now?
Retirement homes anywhere from $16 to $18 an hour, and then nursing homes anywhere from 20 up to upwards of 28. But with the inflation, right, it just doesn't even add up to making a living hardly.
Well, yeah, I think that's the case for everyone these days when it comes to inflation. The fact is, inflation in February was 5.7%. If your wage is not going up 5.7% a year, you're actually taking a pay cut. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right, Brad. Gotcha, Brad. Thank you. Yep. Dave in the West End. Dave.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Rob. I'm thinking of this might be my last call.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because of the media.
The media, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if it wasn't for your station, maybe the world would be a better place. But,
right. What did we do this time? What did the media do this time to you?
Well, the unraveling and unveiling of the Biden clan, okay?
Right.
To me, makes the mafia look like a bunch of amateurs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and his policies have finally come to hit your pocket and my pocket.
Right, okay.
Yesterday I filled up, and anyway, it's just that it has reached that point where they're in bed with the guy, and he doesn't know if he's coming or going. Have you watched
the media
him?
is in bed with Biden, you're saying? Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, you got to turn off that Fox News, Dave. It's you're watching too much of that stuff. I've warned you about that before.
You did,
right?
and I switch over to CNN, and they're in the kitchen renovation business with Biden.
That's a good business. If you want to where the real money is, I guess, is doing renovations for the National Capital Commission. I guess that's where the money is.
Yeah. Okay. Rob, you've had a couple of people on your program. That guy, Elliot Tepper there.
Yeah.
He makes some of your guests, like the professor, they make so much sense.
Yeah.
So these politicians can't be listening to your program, Rob.
Well, maybe they should. Maybe they should, and the world would be a much.
How about this?
All right.
How about if they every politician assigns somebody in their office to listen to your show and get the news?
You know what? Forget that. Just appoint me and I'll run the country, but I don't want to run an election. I want an appointment.
You to run the country.
I want an appointment. I just want an appointment. Sorry, Dave. We're a little tight on time, Dave. I hope that's not your last call, Dave. You've been calling for too long. You've been calling me for too long, and I'd hate it. But turn off the Fox News, man. Chris in Blackburn Hamlet. Chris.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, Chris.
I wanted to talk about Prince William and Kate's visit to Jamaica. But before
go ahead.
I noticed that the Ottawa Home and Garden Show is on this weekend, so if I pop in, I'll get some estimates for kitchen renovations for you.
Well, ask them what they could give you for $735,000. I'd love to know that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to ask. Yeah, I was really disappointed at the news this week, and it doesn't really get a lot of attention, I guess, because of the Ukraine-Russia thing. But Prince William and Kate went to visit Jamaica, and apparently there were protests, and even the Jamaican Prime Minister, he met with them, said that Jamaica wants to cut ties with the monarchy. I think this is just totally ridiculous.
What's totally ridiculous about it?
Well,
why would they want to cut ties with the monarchy?
Times they are a-changing, my friend.
I know.
Right.
Now, I have Jamaican heritage in my family, so that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in this story.
Okay.
And one of the conversations I have with one of my family members, 2 or 3 times a year, this always comes up, and we're talking about somebody in my family who was born and raised there, and so she's had the opportunity to see Jamaica firsthand, living there, and then moving to Canada, and going back and forth and seeing the changes. And according to her, she says, the British did so much for Jamaica when she was growing up. She says that their education system was much better back when she was there than what it is now. Their parliamentary system, their monetary system. She says it hasn't improved since Jamaica got their independence in 1962. So how would cutting ties make anything better? It hasn't. Jamaica's still a nice country, but it hasn't improved since they became independent.
Well, they are independent and they can make their own decisions, right?
Yeah, they can make their own decisions.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame that they see things through this lens of looking back.
I think they see it through a much different lens than you and I would, though, Chris. Well, certainly me, anyway.
Yeah, but once again,
we don't see it through the colonial lens, right?
Yeah, but there are people, older people like one of my family members who can say, look, I was raised there. I know it wasn't, no country is perfect, but it wasn't that bad under the British system. And all of a sudden now they want to cut their ties, fine, but it's not going to make it a better country.
All right. Okay, Chris, thank you. Yep, interesting story there. We'll be following that. Constance Bay, Brian, we'll get to you. Lori in Ottawa and Marcel in Victoriaville. Okay, that's coming up. Talkback Hour. Rob Snow Show. City News.
Dear one, we've been waiting for you. And oh, we're thrilled. Beside ourselves, you arrived. And white coats came in heads held low. And we talked for a bit, shuffled outside. Close the curtains, held each other, and we cried. And said hello at the same time as we said goodbye. Smallest and wingless, oh, leaving as soon as you'd arrive. Sadness is love wasted, with no little heart, place it inside. Close the curtains and held each other and cried. Said hello the same time as we closed the curtains and held each other and we cried. We said hello at the same time as we said goodbye.
back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
This $735,000 kitchen renovation for Harrington Lake may be the biggest boondoggle at the National Capital Commission since the skate shack scandal. The Rideau Canal skate shacks. What year was that, David? I just had David look that up, David.
That was 2012.
2012,
Skate
so a
season
decade ago.
2012.
We got a good one every decade, I guess. And the skate shacks, you remember they replaced the old skate shacks with brand new skate shacks, and they were like top of the line skate shacks. And I remember it was the Centertown News that broke that story originally. The Centertown News broke that story. So how much did they cost, those skate shacks, in the end? It was like $750,000 a piece or something.
It was $5.24 million for all 7, which is $748,571 each.
Right. Oh, both the same as a kitchen.
So roughly the cost of one kitchen.
Lori in Ottawa, you're on City News, Lori.
Good morning.
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
What's up?
So I had my kitchen renovated
Oh, you did?
in
Okay.
June, July of 2020.
2020, okay. All right.
Yeah.
How much information are you willing to divulge?
Oh, I'm an open book, Rob.
All right, okay.
Go for
What
it.
did you have done?
So we didn't change the footprint, but it was a complete gut. We got rid of all of the cabinets, almost all of the appliances, just except for the oven. So new cabinets, new flooring.
Like swapped out
lighting,
everything. Brand new room, right? Brand new room.
New electrical, like
Wow.
granite countertops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds nice. Okay. Tell me about your appliances. Like pretty good appliances, nice appliances.
Well, I mean, we went through Costco. Like we wanted a nicer. Like we went with, but we go, Costco and Corbeil. Like nothing. I'm not going to Viking or anything like that.
Okay.
We don't have that kind of a budget.
Right.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
nice appliances, right?
But,
Yep.
we did it on the cheap. Like I Kijiji'd all of my old appliances. It wasn't.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
trying
okay.
to be make this as affordable as possible.
Because it was your money, not the taxpayers' money. So, in the end, how much do you figure did
It
you
was
spend?
just under 28,000.
28,000. Wow.
Yeah, and that was when things were starting to get difficult to acquire.
Right,
And
yeah.
like it was after the first lockdown, and my contractor was having a hard time and had to increase the prices a little bit for his raw materials.
So what do you think about a $735,000 kitchen renovation?
Well, it's unimaginable.
It's only
really.
more than $700,000 more than your kitchen renovation.
Well, you have to wonder, like, what kind of a lens, like, because for me, I didn't have a $50,000 designer on retainer.
Yep.
My girlfriend who does this for a living, we worked on this together. She did this in her free time just as a favor. She got me, a deal with the cabinet people she knew. Like, I could have easily doubled it if I didn't have a budget.
Yep.
But, I have my Scottish husband who doesn't like to spend money to answer to at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So, no, it was long overdue. We've been 22 years in this house.
Right.
So that was obviously a big deal for us.
Oh, yeah. And this will probably be the last kitchen you ever have, Lori.
Oh, absolutely,
right? Yeah. Well, I hope that's the last kitchen they ever have at Harrington Lake because I'm not paying for a new one. All right. Thank you, Lori. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, 700. It's in the Toronto Star today, folks. Read it for yourself. I am not making this up, okay? The National Capital Commission spent $735,000 on kitchen renovations over the last 3 years at Harrington Lake, the Prime Minister's summer retreat. In Victoriaville, Marcel. Good morning. You're on City News. Marcel.
Rob, long-time listener. I listened to you guys there with you and Lowell back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
That's how
Great
long
stuff.
I've been.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. What has prompted the call today, sir?
Yeah, I'm surprised we're not hearing nothing about what's going on at the NATO, how our Prime Minister has been ousted. I'm going to listen to my French here. Ousted by the other countries there. You see that on YouTube there.
There were a couple of members of the European Parliament aren't big Trudeau fans, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and why didn't this make our news? It's like people need to be.
Well, it's in the newspaper today. It's in the Sun and it's in the Post.
I'm a long-haul truck driver. I don't see the newspaper.
Yeah, it's in the newspaper today. Yeah, but in fairness, you could argue they're a little slow on it. I only saw this yesterday around 11 o'clock. I saw it around 11 o'clock yesterday morning. So by that time, my show's almost done. So
yeah. Well, anyways, it's like just goes to show like how much even the other worlds are not in respect to Trudeau. So
Yeah, not everyone's a fan. The shine is off in many corners of the country and the world for Mr. Trudeau.
I'm so glad he's being put into light, and everybody else should be seeing what the heck he's been up to. So
there are a lot of kind of wingnuts in that European Parliament too, they're kind of crazy over there sometimes.
Well, you wonder what's going on there too. So But anyways,
all right, Marcel.
I'm glad to hear you guys.
Thank you, Marcel, for calling. All the best, sir. 750-1310, 750-1310. It's the Friday Free for All Talk Back Hour. Brian, Constance Bay. Brian.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Good, Brian. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, that's a little excessive for a kitchen, eh?
Yeah, you think? Yeah.
For a whole house.
You get a pretty nice house. Maybe only a townhouse these days, given the housing prices, but you could get a whole house for that.
I think maybe that they have to show where all this high taxes go so they can keep raising them, so they just spend the money as much as they can anywhere.
I'm willing to hear it, the explanation. I'd love to see, an itemized list of what went into spending $735,000 on a kitchen. Is it a big industrial kitchen? Is it going to be used to cater state dinners? Just, what goes into a $735,000 kitchen? I'd love to see it. I'm willing to be open-minded, but, I'm with you. Gosh almighty.
I'd love to see maybe who is doing the kitchen or who's making the money, right?
Oh, yeah.
Who approves that? Like, if it's a buddy or something and you want to give
Well, isn't that it? Isn't that it? How are these deals signed? How is this work done? Is all of this tendered? Is this a competitive bidding process, or does somebody know somebody? Is it sole sourced? What do we know about any of this? Really?
Exactly, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
And it shouldn't be like that. It should be an open book when you're spending the taxpayers' money.
Yeah, you're spending that kind of money on a kitchen? I guess so, Brian. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Brian, for your call. I want to take one more here. Actually, let's stop. I'm sorry, because the news is coming up. I want to get the news on time for once this week. Kim in Ottawa, get to you right after the news. Rick in Orleans, Michelle down in the South End, and whoever's calling on line 1. 750-1310, Talk Back Hour Friday, free for all on City News.
Being a crossing guard works great as part of my schedule as a high school student because I still have time to do my tests and assignments while earning a little bit of cash on the side.
Working as a crossing guard fits into my current lifestyle because it gives me a lot of time during the day to pursue hobbies that I'm very interested in.
A friend of mine introduced me to this job. I didn't know it was actually a paid job.
I always start my day. It's a very little, I guess, few months baby, and she always comes with her dad on her pram, and the smile she has, like, oh my God.
Well, I think the OSC is a very good employer. They show quite clearly that they care about you. They're very polite.
They really make you feel like you're part of a family.
It's fun. I really enjoy it.
Gets us out of the house, too.
Yeah.
news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 25th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now, 7 degrees in both Ottawa and Smiths Falls, and here's what's making news this hour. Ukraine's president urging his people to continue the resistance against the Russian invasion. The country is reporting that 300 people taking shelter in a theater in Mariupol last week were killed in a Russian attack. Ukraine also accusing Russia of taking hundreds of thousands of its citizens as hostages. Russia's foreign minister also speaking on the conflict. Sergei Lavrov says Russia is facing total war that was declared by the West with its sanctions. Lavrov says the Western goal is to destroy, break, annihilate, strangle the Russian economy and Russia on the whole. But Lavrov says Russia was not isolated. Now, the deputy head of Russia's military's general staff says 1,351 Russian soldiers have so far died in Ukraine. We're expecting the mayor, Jim Watson, along with Premier Doug Ford and Health Minister Christine Elliott at the Civic Hospital about 1.5 hours from now. They're scheduled to make an announcement then. City News will have the details for you through the day. And after consultation with the city, the province has made 3 appointments to the Provincial Police Service or the City Police Services Board. They are Salim Fakarini, Peter Henschel, and Michael Doucette. The board meets Monday afternoon. City News Time, 10:31. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Talk back.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
Continues with the Friday free-for-all. So far, the kitchen renovation at Harrington Lake that ended up costing $735,000. Harrington Lake is the summer retreat, the summer residence for the Prime Minister. Now, today the Prime Minister happens to be Justin Trudeau. Who knows, maybe in a few years, Mr. Poilievre can wander down late at night into his $735,000 kitchen and raid the fridge. It could happen. It could happen. I think that, David, the killer line to me, this is all in the Toronto Star this morning in a big story. The big line, Tom Spears reports for the Toronto Star. I love this one. Originally budgeted at $551,000. Because, you know, of course, right? Of course, $551,000. It climbed to $648,000. So just like that, you know, the like $90,000 increase. And later to $735,000. And the kitchen bill included $52,000 for a design consultant. Man, oh man, am I in the wrong line of work?
I'm just reminded of, remember that video of Pierre Poilievre with the 2x4s?
Yes.
This is what he was talking about.
Inflation. It's inflation.
To warn us.
That's runaway inflation, right? Right? Inflation. That's it right there. Yeah. Kim in Ottawa, you're on City News. Kim.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, Kim. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So,
you do your kitchen lately?
I did.
You did?
In 2020. Our house is a split house, so it's roughly 1,800 square feet, so it's a small house, very modest, 3-bedroom house. And we renovated our kitchen. We hired our contractor, a very renowned contractor here in Ottawa, and it came under 100. And this is right before everything went up in terms of materials. So if you consider the labor cost today, the materials, the gas, everything, it's ridiculous, yes. 700,000. It is ridiculous, but
735,000. 700. Even the 35 is big. Okay.
Yes, definitely. But you have to understand that's the reality of today.
No, it's not the reality of today to spend $735,000 on a kitchen renovation.
My house is 1,800. My house is 1,800 square feet.
What does the size of the house have to do with it?
Well, what's the size of the kitchen?
Well, that'd be interesting to know. That would be interesting to know.
What's the size of the court?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, size matters.
Size matters. Okay.
Size matters.
You think it matters to that effect, like to a factor of 7-fold increase?
You know, you can also A-tip this if you want to know.
Well, that's how they got their hands on this information in the first place. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
You got 1,000 pages of documents.
everything is public knowledge. Your tax money is public knowledge, and there's no secrecy in terms of how the government procures and spends this money. If you want to talk about money, let's talk about Candace Bergen. If we're going to crap on one party, let's crap on the other party.
Okay.
She spent $20,000 on moving.
No, not her. Again, and I'm not crapping on the Prime Minister. This is the National Capital Commission that is making this. Okay?
Why are you disregarding the $20,000 for moving costs?
I'm not disregarding. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
Again, that's the National Capital Commission is making these decisions. $20,000, which included more than $5,000 for sheets and towels.
Yeah.
Now sheets and towels, $5,000. Sheets and towels.
Why aren't people talking
sheets
about
and
that
towels?
too?
These people are public servants. Okay, if they want to live like Russian oligarchs, then they're in the wrong country and in the wrong line of business.
$1,600 on accessories and paintings.
Yeah, again, these are the shoppers at the National Capital Commission that are doing this.
$3,000 on cleaning and upholstery. Hey, it goes both ways.
Well, it's only going one way, and it's the people who are at the National Capital Commission that are making this. Yeah, it is. If it's going one way, it's going out of my pocket and into these people's homes.
So your beef is the end.
My beef is that $750,000 went to renovate a kitchen. You don't think that's excessive?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we agree on we agree on one thing then. Yeah, we finally agree, Kim. All right, Michelle in Ottawa South. Michelle.
Oh, put me in, Coach. Kim, have you ever heard of Gerald Butts? He spent $100,000 over to move within the city of Ottawa. To move his belongings into his home, we paid over $100,000 for Mr. Gerald Butts. Home run. Okay, so the costly coalition that's happened this week between Mr. Singh.
Yeah. And Mr. Trudeau.
It's all about providing certainty and stability at a time of instability.
That's right, yes.
Well, we already had that covered, Mr. Singh. I think it was called an election, and Mr. Trudeau did not get a majority.
Okay.
So here's what I say.
All right.
The NDP has no money. Do not trust them with yours. Rob, it's such an unhealthy relationship for Canada, and to me it's equivalent to a lady saying, I'm staying with my abuser so the kids can have nice teeth. Get out, get help. Nobody wins in that kind of dysfunction. There's generations of damage and poverty to the bystanders. And to the Liberal family, I say your daddy just became a polygamist. See what kind of attention your needs get now. It's not good. It's not healthy. So anyway, that's how I feel about it. I would also say to the Liberals, somebody whisper into Mr. Trudeau's ear, please, because he's becoming very unpopular over in Europe, and they're starting to voice it. And he's putting a big bullseye on Canada. Please, Mr. Trudeau, stop.
Okay.
Okay, now, change the subject. All this talk about housing, our money's only paper, right? With bricks and mortar, at least you have a little something sellable. And in uncertain times, a little sellable is nice.
Right.
Last February 2021, I sold my father's condo in Canada for $380,000. That was the highest price their condos had ever caught. It was a big deal. The gentleman I sold it to, a young guy, nice guy, listed it this past week for $500 just to test the market, and it sold for $600,000.
Wow!
So in
a year, 13 months.
Well,
wow.
Yeah, 13 months.
Wow.
He acquired the equity that it took my parents almost a lifetime. If you look at it that way.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Well, it is a great way because, I was very happy last year, and it was an estate sale, and it is what it is, and I'm very happy for this young man, too. But I would say that the reason there's such instability and everybody jumping in because they realize that your dollar is paper. And if you have bricks and mortar, even in the worst times, if you can afford to carry your brick and mortar, you're going to be fine. So that's what I would say. And if you give me another minute.
Well, I'll give you 30 seconds.
The only reason why Mr. Patrick Brown isn't a Liberal is because he would not get noticed there. He would just be a wallflower.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't know. Michelle Rempel-Garner is co-chairing his campaign.
Well, we're all allowed some temporary insanity.
Okay, all right, okay.
Don't stand in front of him. He'll pull your heart out and throw it on the ground.
All right, okay, all right. This line. Rick in Orleans. Rick.
Hello, Rob.
Hi, Rick.
Nice to be in your program.
Thank you.
I would like to talk about the kitchen spending.
The kitchen renovations,
Yeah, kitchen renovation. I worked for a foreign government, many years. I'm not going to disclose which one.
Okay.
But this spending has two aspects. One is the budget, and the other one is the arm's length and the friendly relationship between the contractors and the buyer.
Okay.
So, in this case, I'm not saying that it happened that way or it didn't happen, but when it comes to the budget, nobody cares about the taxpayers' money.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be expended.
Yeah.
That's the policy of many governments.
Yeah.
So the money doesn't get duplicated and goes back to the treasury.
Exactly.
The other aspect is that the buyer and the contractors get too friendly, and when they deal with the government, the price of any project when it comes to this capital spending doubles and triples.
It would seem so.
Many places, many places in the world where it doubles and triples to factor in the cuts that the buyer gets. It should be investigated. There should be a taxpayers association allowed by law to audit, to investigate, and have a say on it.
Yeah.
Because this is getting out of hand. We are being nailed with misspending. And our generations to come, our kids and the kids of our kids are going to have to pay for it. If they have any kids, they can afford to have any kids. So the future of Canada is in the hands of wrong people. Misspending.
I mean, it's almost $12 million. $12 million they've spent on this house. $12 million. It's a big house, 8,000 square feet, big house. I get it, old house. But $12 million, can you imagine the house you could have, Rick, for $12 million, even in the Gatineau Hills?
You can have 12 nice houses for
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, $12 million. I don't know. You ever hear of the Marilyn Wilson? She's like the high-end real estate broker. Dream Properties, Marilyn Wilson. Like, that's the ultra high-end homes in Ottawa. I was on that website this morning. She has a house for sale there. It's the most expensive house. There is one listed for $12 million, but it's more like a resort property, multiple properties on the waterfront. She has one that is listed there for $8.8 million, called River Estate. It's called. You should see this place. Holy, they spared no expense. $8.8 million. Totally spectacular. The NCC has spent $11.7 million on a summer retreat for the Prime Minister, for the part-time pad of the Prime Minister, right? And $735,000 for kitchen renovations. I don't know. NCC, what are you doing? Do you live in the real world? That's the kind of story, for mere mortal politicians, that kind of story would end careers. It would. David Dingwall had some questionable expenses out at the Mint. Right, done in. Can you imagine if that was happening if Stephen Harper was Prime Minister? The howls of the outrage that would be happening. Oh, Stephen Harper cutting veterans' benefits while he redoes his kitchen for $735,000. Man, it must be some kitchen. I'd love to see it. I would. Maybe I'll get invited someday. What do you think the chances are of that? In Navan, Nicola. Nicola?
Hi, Ross.
Yeah, hi.
How are you?
Is it Nicola? How am I saying this?
Nicola.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I'm Italian. Sorry for that.
Italian. Okay. All right. Okay.
Anyway.
$735,000 kitchen.
I'm really mad, honestly.
Yeah.
Very mad. Yeah. I'm from Italy. The best kitchen you possible find in Italy is a company named Scavolini. Yeah, you find it in Ottawa. Con €35,000, you have a top of the class.
Top of the class. Okay.
So you con one finger the doors open. You talk starting cooking himself. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't understand well from $735,000 Canadian dollars for a renovation kitchen.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yep.
And just the tax review, I need to pay back $44,000 in taxes. And these people spend $755,000 for a renovation. Unbelievable. I'm very mad.
Yeah.
I'm very mad.
Okay.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. It must be quite the kitchen, I must say.
I moved in Canada 14 years ago.
Yeah.
This country is amazing.
Yeah.
One salary, no live with the rich, but yes, I live, I pay my rent, the life is not bad. Now, immigrants starting to live in Canada. Why? You can't live anymore here. It's impossible. Minimum age, how you survive? I'm working on my second job with my business destroyed from COVID. I have zero help from the government. So I have 2 jobs. I'm working 14 hours a day. And the one job is $15 an hour is the minimum age. I'm working 87 hours in 2 weeks, bring home $950. You want to live in this town for $950? I don't understand. Where we go? We really in bad direction.
Need an election. Okay. All right. All right.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Great to hear from you. All the best, man. All the best. 10:46. Be right back. Rob Snow Show. Friday free for all talk back hour with a smoking hot kitchen renovation in the center of it all on City News.
When it came to opening the business, because I was so young, there was a lot that I didn't know about management, financial management, management of people, all around management, I think is the word that I always come back to. I think that I always had a passion and I knew that I wanted to create a space for people to get their hair done, but I had no idea, even having studied business management, what it really took to open a business as well as sustain a successful business. So in 2014, I was actually working with Angela Sutcliffe. She was my business coach at the time, and she was like, what's your niche? Like, what separates you from other salons? And when we started to really dig, it was the curls. It was the fact that we work with all curl types, curly, kinky, wavy, coily, which is how we identify our curl types. And then you have straight hair as well, of course. But you know, more than 70% of the world has some sort of curl pattern to their hair. And we just realized that that was not being addressed. It wasn't something we learned about in school. So that's, I went to the States and I traveled all over to kind of gain the information that I have now to be able to share it with our clients and as well as with other stylists. So in March when it came, I thought it was gonna last, a week, 2 weeks, I think it started off at 2 weeks. And I was like, cool, I have 2 weeks to just relax, that's fine. So I was actually in a position where I was not happy, so to say, but I was a little bit happy, to be honest, just because of what I was experiencing personally. Now, when that extension started to happen, it was not a great feeling. It was very uncomfortable not knowing how I was going to support myself financially. So I'm so excited about the Academy. It's something that I started and I launched it during the pandemic. So I've been teaching for a number of years. I've been educating for a number of years. I educated at Algonquin. I've educated at Versailles Hair Academy. And I've also educated in my own space, in this space and my old space up on Green Bank. And so it was just a continuum of what, I've been doing for these years. When we have a client in our chair, it's not just about making your hair look great. It's about how do you go home and take what we've just taught you and emulate that. So now with a world where people want to quote unquote be diverse and inclusive, what does that really look like in a salon setting? And for me, it looks like being able to invite any curl type, any hair type really, because I can take care of straight hair types just as well as, I can take care of curls. And we cater to all curl types regardless of what you look like on the outside, we got you.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
Okay, last chance to have at us for the week. On the Talkback Hour in Gatineau, Kevin. Good morning, Kevin.
Morning. Good morning. I'd like to see us have one less expensive kitchen and sell the Governor General's mansion and follow Barbados and Jamaica and grow up ourselves and put Terry Fox on the money and Maurice Richard and Alex Trebek and Gordon Lightfoot and grow up for once. We don't need it anymore. And
you're, and I don't mean this in the American sense, but rather you're a Republican. You're a Republican. We should be a republic. Right? We don't need the Queen, you're saying. Right?
No, I don't. Actually, I did immigrate from the U.S. and had to swear allegiance to defend her just because I wanted to vote, and that was ridiculous. But it's, between, like you had alluded to, the colonial history for that caller, when England outlawed slavery, they paid big bucks in reparations to slaveholders, but nothing to the people that they shipped to places like that to pick sugar. And then, of course, they wouldn't, they're so dependent on Russian money launderers in London, and they, this would be their opportunity. They should be seizing stuff like crazy there, and you only hear lip service for years. They are so dependent, the London banking, on laundered money. I know this for a fact, and
there's been many reports about the Russian money that has flowed into in London and in the UK. There's a whole neighborhood there. What's it called? Belgravia, I think it's called.
There's more than one,
London.
Yes, but they did make that guy sell the Chelsea Football Club. I mean, so they make.
Yeah, that's one guy though, right?
Right, but there's tremendous. I mean, actually, those Russian oligarchs have given tons of money to the campaign of Boris Johnson in the past. They're extremely entrenched. But that's. As far as the figurehead of the Queen, I have nothing against her personally. I think most wouldn't have wanted to see Prince Andrew on the money. But if you look how they treated Diana and Meghan Markle, it's for what purpose? We can grow up.
Well, I think the purpose would, for monarchists would be tradition and continuity.
Right. Well, not all traditions are good, and of course, to be fair, you can argue that in England, at least, maybe not here, but they actually probably generate more in tax in tourism dollars.
Oh, I would suspect so. Yeah.
But here probably not. So.
Okay. All right, Kevin. Thank you. I want to fit into a few more here. Thank you. Yeah, interesting points. Not saying I agree with them, but they are interesting. Ottawa South. Bob. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
Hey, Bob.
I'd like to go from the kitchen to Parliament.
Okay.
I was concerned about the report you had this morning about Steve Ball, the acting police chief in Ottawa.
Yeah, Steve Ball.
Non-answer to a question from a committee member. I thought police were supposed to be impartial. But Bell put on his political hat as he continued to not answer the question that was very simple. And I take a look and I say, actions like that on the part of police chiefs, they only exist in totalitarian states. That causes me a lot of concern, particularly when you've got a prime minister who's acknowledged his admiration for China. And the lack of sittings in the House of Commons, these things really concern me. Democracy in Canada has taken a sharp shift downwards.
Okay. Thank you. And, Bob, you're not alone in thinking that after the deal was announced between Mr. Singh and Mr. Trudeau, that was actually the very take that was in the column, the editorial, the day after in, of all places, the Globe and Mail newspaper. Nicola, Laura Niall. Nicola.
Yeah, a different Nicola. I'm not
Yes,
Italian.
a different one. Yeah, not Italian. Not Italian. No.
No, English. I think the saddest video I saw all week, despite Ukraine, was the Afghan teenage girls who were crying because they turned up at the school and they learned that the schools are
anybody
closed, over
yeah.
grade Afghan after grade 6 that the schools would be closed after all the promises by the Taliban there that the schools would stay open.
Okay.
It's on Twitter, the video, or you can Google.
Okay, I have not seen it. I have not seen it.
Teenage Afghan girls crying. It is just so awful. Anyway, well, something lighter, I guess. I just have to laugh at Sherry now in the leadership. He must be regretting because he's not going to be maybe stuck in the Commons for 3 years.
Well, do you think this changes the dynamic for him? The fact that there won't be an election for 3 years? You think maybe he's regretting his decision to jump into this thing? Or,
yeah, he could be just sitting on boards of directors and collecting money, and now he's going to have to, well, I don't think he's going to win, but, you know.
Yeah, or working for his prestigious law firm for clients like Huawei or whatever the case might be, whatever he's doing.
Well, my daughter renovated. She's got a little catering business in her house. And,
how many hundreds of thousands of dollars did that cost?
Not a lot, and she had a designer friend who, you know, I don't know, maybe she spent $500 something to get some advice, and you know, so this is crazy. I mean, what does it cost in the White House to do the kitchen? I'd like to know.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe it rivals this. I don't know. $52,000 just for the designer.
Yeah, that's it. So I don't know. They're living in a different world. These people. What can I say?
I think so. Yeah. Okay. Robert in Canada, you're on City News. Robert.
Hello. Respectfully, the Speaker of the House of Commons, Anthony Rota, is fiduciary for the parliamentary precinct, and he allotted himself, or the parliamentary precinct, $6 billion in the 2021 federal budget over the next 5 years for renovations for Parliament Hill and the parliamentary precinct.
Yeah, the precinct, yeah.
So $6 billion just to buff it up and shine up the stones and stuff like that.
There's a little bit more to it than that. They're going to, renovate. Basically, just to renovate the Supreme Court is $1 billion.
It's excessive spending on renovations with pricey contractors. Okay, and it's egregious compared to the $750K on Harrington Lake.
Just the kitchen.
They're just feathering their nests for the next 5 years while we go through hyperinflation and Weimar Republic level spending of government, where they devalue and debase our dollar. They lined their pockets as they gave the budget out. They gave themselves 2.5% increases in pay, while they gave it to us, the poor, on all the hyperinflation for food. So they're greedy people.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Didn't he say he was running for mayor again, Robert? Yeah. All right, last call is in the Pontiac. Keith, Shawville. Keith.
Yes, another reason for the NDP and Liberals not to formally call this agreement they have a coalition is that if there was a coalition, there'd be one party, one ruling party. Now, under the rules of the House of Commons, the Speaker is supposed to allow the opposition more questions than the ruling party during question period. So my problem is how's the Speaker going to rule when the NDP wants to ask questions? They should be part of the ruling party and not get as much question time as the opposition.
All right. Okay, Robert, or Keith, thank you. Thank you for your call. Yep, bye-bye. Hey, thank you for all your calls this week. Enjoyed it tremendously. We'll do it again at 10 o'clock on Monday with the Talkback Hour. Coming up next, a recap of the week that was for the Ottawa Senators, and it was busy. A few losses, a win last night, and many, many, many trades. We'll talk about them with Steve Warne of the Sens Nation podcast, coming right up on City News.
one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, March 25th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, it's 7 degrees. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Ukrainian authorities in the besieged ruins of Mariupol say about 300 people died last week when a Russian airstrike blew up a theater where hundreds of civilians were sheltering. The death toll was announced in a post on the city government Telegram channel that cited eyewitnesses. Now, the White House National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, was asked about that reported death toll.
We all have a very deeply human response to what happened, the bombing of that theater, which is just absolute shock and horror, particularly given the fact that it was so clearly a civilian target that the Russians were striking, and that they did so with such brazen disregard for the lives of innocent people.
President Zelensky has called on Ukrainians to keep up their resistance to Russia's invading forces. Now, the charge d'affaires at the Ukrainian embassy in Ottawa was at the mayor's breakfast series this morning. Andriy Bukvich with a message for the city and the Free Ukraine signs that were placed outside the Russian embassy.
Mr. Mayor, the initiative we signed, Free Libre Ukraine, very important symbol. For us, it's a symbol of unity with Canadian people, with people of Ottawa. For Russian diplomats who see this sign from the embassy, it will be a symbol as well.
He says all help is appreciated and the people of Ukraine are feeling the love from this area. Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children says 3 more pediatric cancer patients from Ukraine have now arrived for treatment. Dr. Sumit Gupta, the staff oncologist at the hospital, says the patients and their families arrived on Wednesday this week. They are just starting to settle in now. Sick Kids is now caring for a total of 5 cancer patients from Ukraine. City News Time, 11:03, and now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
For Ottawa, the Valley, Smiths Falls, today periods of rain or some drizzle will climb to about 9 degrees for the high. Tonight, showers changing to flurries, the low 0. And for the weekend, cooler air moving in, especially on Sunday. The high just -2 with some flurries at times. For today, the high +9.
And right now, in both Ottawa and Smiths Falls, it's 7 degrees. After consultation with the city, the province has made 3 appointments to the Police Services Board in Ottawa. They are Salim Fakirani, a senior consul with the Federal Department of Justice, Peter Henschel, a former deputy commissioner for specialized police services with the RCMP, and Michael Doucette, who served as executive director with the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency. The police board is scheduled to meet on Monday for the first time since a board shakeup last month. It will now be made up of those 3, plus interim chief Steve Bell and councillors Kathy Curry, Jeff Leeper, and the chair, Eli El Shantiri. Sheriff's officials in Florida say a 14-year-old boy fell to his death from a ride at an Orlando amusement park. Sheriff officials and emergency crews were called late yesterday to Icon Park. That's in the city's tourist district along International Drive. The boy fell from Orlando Free Fall Ride. That opened just late last year. Officials say he was taken to hospital where he died. No additional details about the teen or the incident released. This is a 430-foot ride. It opened last year and is billed as the world's tallest freestanding drop tower. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's a pillar of community opinion.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
This is a busy week on and off the ice for the Ottawa Senators. Let's review it with the help of Steve Warne from the Sens Nation podcast, sensnationhockey.com. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Robert.
So let's talk about the what happened with the Ottawa Senators at the trade deadline. Give us a recap of the moves that were made by the management for the Sens.
Well, they pulled off 5 trades, and they also re-signed Anton Forsberg. A great deal for him, a 3-year contract. Comes in at $2.75 million a year. I think that's great because he has a starter's role right now. And if that guy continues to play great and hangs onto it, it's an absolute steal. And even if he falters as the number 1, he wouldn't even be the NHL's highest paid backup. So it's a great deal, especially with Matt Murray. If he takes over as number 1 again, they need an excellent backup because we know he spends a lot of time on the injured reserve. 5 trades went down, as I mentioned. Nick Paul for Matthew Joseph and a 4th rounder. You got Travis Hamonic, who came from Vancouver for a 3rd rounder. Zach Sanford to Winnipeg for a 5th rounder. They unloaded Josh Brown for a minor leaguer from Ottawa named Zach Sinishin. And Michael McNiven, goaltender, picked up a little depth for Belleville. So that's a bit of a summary of what they did this week.
All right. Let's talk about the Nick Paul thing, because it's such a great story. The Nick Paul story is everybody likes a comeback story or a perseverance story, and that's the Nick Paul story to me. A guy who was put on waivers, who really got it together and, became a real bright spot for the Ottawa Senators. So there are the Senators. They offered him a really decent sum of money. What was the contract offer from the Senators?
It's believed to be around $2.5 million. They said it might be around 3 years, and the buzz was out there that he wanted around $3 million for 4, but that's all speculation and buzz. I certainly like Nick Paul a ton.
Yeah.
You mentioned the great story that he was, a real tale of resiliency. Like, he came over, he's been with the organization 8 years. He was in the Jason Spezza trade.
Wow.
And he really emerged as a guy that is a leader, well-liked in the room. I mean, everybody I talked to with the Sens, the players are just like, okay, we love Nick Paul, but that's the business of the game. And it's unfortunate, but I think they pulled off a really, really good trade. Like, I love this trade. Matthew Joseph.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. What makes you like it so much then?
Well, I mean, he's a guy that is a better skater. He's a lot cheaper. He makes I think he's the lowest paid forward on the Sens now at $730,000. And he's an RFA, so the Sens still control his rights this summer. He's got a cup ring. He's 2 years younger. And then you get a 4th rounder to boot. Okay. I think that's a great deal. And his stats are exactly like Nick Paul's. They both have 19 points right now.
Okay. Is that the player that played with Shabbat in the juniors?
They played 4 years together in St. John in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and they're not just old teammates; they are absolutely best buddies.
Oh, that's good too. That's upside too. That's upside too. You would have to think, right? So
yeah, and it's an organization that puts a lot of stock in that. The first thing they said when they acquired Josh Norris was that he's best buddies with Brady Tkachuk. So it's obvious the chemistry is a big factor in the construction of this rebuild.
Okay. Claude Giroux. Claude Giroux's an Ottawa guy, and has been he was a great player for the Philadelphia Flyers. He recently traded. Was he not recently traded? Was he not traded? Yeah,
traded
to Florida, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be here tomorrow.
So for many years, a dominant forward in the National Hockey League, and in the latter parts of his career, you would say, the final period maybe of his career. So he's a rental, as I understand it, for Florida. And there's lots of speculation. Okay, could he be coming to the Ottawa Senators? Hometown guy. I think you said, I think he summers here, doesn't he, Steve? Spend time here in the summer? Did you say?
Far as, we've, I know him a little bit, and that he used to come on our radio show all the time. And yeah, he's been living here in his off seasons since he was like 18 years old.
Right. So what do you think of this speculation? Is it just wishful thinking, or could it actually happen? Claude Giroux is an Ottawa Senator. What do you think?
I really poured cold water on that notion for a long time. But I think the theory is a guy his age and his pedigree, why would he go to a place where he really doesn't have a chance to win right now? But I've come around on it lately based on some conversations I've been having. As we talked about, his family's here. That's a big deal. And I think that if the Sens can take a step forward next year, and I'm sure Claude Giroux is well aware of what the Ottawa Senators are all about as far as a roster goes. I really think he wouldn't close the door on it. And I think if that's something you as a Sens fan are interested in, I think you should probably cheer for the Florida Panthers to win a Stanley Cup this year, because that will be a box for Claude Giroux that's checked off, and now he can do pretty much whatever he wants after that. And so I think that would even further the argument that he might be interested in knocking, at least kicking the tires on the Ottawa Senators.
Okay, so I name you the interim general manager of the Ottawa Senators in order to secure this agreement, Steve. What kind of term and money would you give Claude Giroux at this time in his career?
As an unrestricted free agent, I mean, you are probably, I got to say, you're probably looking at $5 or $6 million still. He's still a very, very good offensive player in the league. Debuted with the Panthers and got a couple of assists. You're not getting him for cheap, which is probably the biggest stumbling block of all, because Eugene Melnyk has seen small attendances here throughout this pandemic, so the income isn't there. Meanwhile, he's being asked season after season, here's money for you, Brady Tkachuk. Here's money for you, Josh Norris, this summer. Here's money the following year for Tim Stützle. There's a lot of money that needs to be paid already before you even start to think about a guy named Claude Giroux.
Yeah, and 34 years old doesn't say rebuild, right? That doesn't scream rebuild. So, all right, see what happens. It's interesting. I'd love to see it happen, but I don't know. The Sens are somehow embroiled in a trade controversy involving Evgeny Dadonov. He was here for about 20 minutes playing for the Ottawa Senators. What is this all about, Steve? What's going on here?
Well, it's a deal that went down between Vegas, Dadonov's new team, and Vegas and Anaheim. And Dadonov, when he was an Ottawa Senator last year, gave the Senators a 10-team no-trade list.
Okay.
And then they sent him to the Golden Knights. Well, that seemed to have gotten lost, that no-trade list. How it happened, not quite clear, but Vegas tried to trade Dadonov to Anaheim this week, and at no point did Dadonov agree to waive his no-trade clause. Ducks were on that list, and so the deal ended up getting voided. And now there's all kinds of finger-pointing going on. Vegas saying, well, Ottawa didn't articulate exactly what was going on with that. And I don't know exactly how it went down, but I am surprised, honestly, that the NHLPA and the NHL don't do a better job of tracking no-trades lists.
Right.
It seems to be something that's just between the players and the agents. So that's got to change in the NHL, because that was a joke this week.
Was there any penalty against the Ottawa Senators for that? Did they get fined or anything for that?
There's been nothing that I've heard so far.
Okay.
I certainly wouldn't be surprised if something like that went down, because everybody seems to be pointing the finger at the Sens. But I'm sure we would have heard something by now.
What a weird story.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's a weird story. Okay. So, look, Shabbat's out for the season, right? They've had so many injuries. The season's not gone well. Hey, another great draft pick, I guess. There's the opportunity for that. But really, just telling it like it is, not a lot to look forward to down the stretch for the Senators. You know, the most you can hope for is that you're, ruin the season for other teams like they may have done to Winnipeg last night, I guess. But there are reasons to be optimistic, I think. And what are you excited about for the future? I still am excited about the future. I mean, we have to remember, they went the whole season basically without a guy like Pinto, for example, who's going to be dynamite. And there's still lots of potential for this team. Steve, what gets you going for the Sens?
Well, I think there's. When you look at the current roster, this is the underrated part of what will happen between now and the fall. Everybody on the current roster is going to be another year older, right? More physically mature. I think about Tim Stützle in that regard. Mm-hmm. I think it's very common for guys in their third seasons in the NHL to have these big spikes in production. So that experience matters. And then let's talk about who's not on the roster right now, who will be there on opening night, which I think will help things to improve in a hurry. Thomas Chabot's going to be healthy again. You mentioned Shane Pinto. Drake Batherson's finally going to be back in the lineup against Florida tomorrow night. You've got Jake Sanderson, who was their fifth rounder a couple of years ago. He's often regarded as maybe the best player not playing in the NHL right now. You've also got a first rounder in Ridley Gregg. He's close to 2 points a game in the Western Hockey League, and also an angry bit of business. He's a bit of a shift disturber, as they say. Okay. And you've also got other prospects like Jacob Bernard-Docker and Lassie Thompson. And maybe Pierre Dorion goes and does something in the summertime, whether it's looking at Claude Giroux or picking the pocket of some NHL team that's in cap hell. There's a lot to look forward to, I think, if you're a Sens fan, despite how these last 5 years have gone.
Yeah. Amen and fingers crossed. Thank you, Steve Warne. We'll speak soon.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep, Steve Warne from the Sens Nation podcast, sensnationhockey.com. Jim Cuddy from Blue Rodeo, coming up next on City News.
Jackson Creek. You can't take all the trouble and sink them in deep. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy's got them Hunter Street blues. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy's got them Hunter Street blues. So long above the corner store where I made up these songs. It's my last stop before I go. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy's got them Hunter Street blues. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy's got them Hunter Street blues.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Diamond night. Oh, baby, it's high.
Oh, 2 weeks from today, that legendary Canadian countrified rock band Blue Rodeo brings its Many a Mile tour to Ottawa in the Canadian Tire Centre. Many a Mile, it's their 16th studio album. Here's a taste of one of the songs from it. It's called When You Were Wild.
Just try to remember the better times back when you were wild.
A great treat for me. Last year, I had a chance to interview Greg Keeler about his latest work, and this morning it's his partner on this musical journey, Jim Cuddy of Blue Rodeo, is with me on the Rob Snow Show on City News. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much.
So, you've hit the road again.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. How does that feel?
Well, it was a little nerve-wracking to begin with. I think that for all of us, it was like, what have I forgotten? Did I forget my shaving kit? What are they? Do I have my clothes? And now we got one under our belt, and it feels great. It felt very new normal, but normal last night. So it's absolutely joyful to be back out on the road.
Okay, I was looking at your website for the tour information, and it says that you're playing in Summerside, Prince Edward Island tonight. Is that right?
That's where we're on our way to right now.
You're on your way to Summerside, PEI. Wow, that's something else. It's so funny. I've talked about Prince Edward Island so much with my wife this week. I was just actually on the telephone with Tourism PEI yesterday, asking them about Old Home Week, because that's where we're going for summer vacation. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So where do you go for summer?
Well, we'll be going to Charlottetown, I guess. But
right.
Wow, it's just so funny. So how does it feel to be back playing gigs again?
Well, I think the difference is because we have played a few gigs. We played the amphitheater last year and this and that and here and there. But those are just one-nighters, and that's a lot different than a tour. And it feels there's a certain amount of nerves because COVID's still everywhere, and it's not like I think we're worried that it's going to hurt somebody, but it's going to be a disruption in our plans. And so one of our guitar players is sitting home, Colin Cripps. He's got COVID, so he's not making this round. But we're lucky to have Jimmy Boskill with us. So yeah, it feels amazing to be able to do it again, and to be on a bus and chit chatting with everybody and just being absorbed by music. It feels great.
I'm curious, when you perform now, are you getting the sense that maybe there's even like from the fans a renewed appreciation for live music, that kind of a case of, wow, I miss this so much, you really don't know what you got to till it's gone and now it's back, and maybe people have a greater appreciation for it? What's your sense of that?
Oh, I think that's spot on. I think that people there's a certain amount of joy in the air that people had forgotten existed, and so the event, the actual being there, the feeling of being with other people and hearing music and singing and dancing and letting yourself loose, I think that's what's the big experience for people right now. I think that we're the catalyst for it, and we're the reason they came to that show, but they are reminded of what it's like to share that experience with a bunch of other people.
When I was speaking with Greg last year, Greg was telling me, he had spent his COVID time doing a lot of jamming and writing a lot of music and spending a lot of time in his barn on his farm and these kinds of things. How did you spend the last couple of years? I mean, your industry was shut down, first to close, last to open, the music industry. What did you do with the time, Jim?
Yeah, we always said that Greg was so made for lockdown. He loves it. My wife and I are lucky enough to have a little country place. It's north of Toronto. I went up there for a major part of the first year anyway. And, it's the first time in 30 some odd years that I've actually stayed in one place through a couple of seasons. So it was very rejuvenating for my body and my mind. I did a lot of writing of songs. I thought I was writing a solo record. Greg had a solo record coming out, and so I thought that's what we were doing. And so I wrote a bunch of stuff for a solo record, and I got about 3/4 of the way through that, and then Greg contacted me and said, let's make a Blue Rodeo record. So I pivoted and started writing Blue Rodeo songs, but most of it was spent up there just looking out the windows at the forest and the river, and we have a pond, and watching the seasons come and go. Now, that got a little old in the second year.
Yeah.
Not quite the same. And I got anxious, especially because there was some hope that last summer everything was over and going to open up again, and then it shut down again. So it's been frustrating, but it's almost as if you just expect something disruptive to happen, and you're prepared for it when it does.
I don't want to blow a whistle, but you're in your mid-60s now. Greg is 67. You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
35 plus years you've been together. And you've gone on and done your own thing, and your bandmates have gone on and they've done their own thing. It's the first Blue Rodeo album in 5 years. As you say, it wasn't really planned. It just kind of came to be. So now that you're back out together, what's it like to get back together after all of this time? Is it kind of like riding a bike, fits like a glove, that kind of thing, or?
Well, I think there's two sides to that. There's the musical side, and you know, we're lucky to play with musicians that are such high caliber that when we all get on stage, worried that we're going to forget everything we knew. It's just like it's magic, you know. Listening to people play and hearing what comes together. For 35 years or something, and we don't seem to run out of things to talk about. You know, and sometimes it's gossip, sometimes it's music stuff, things that are going on. But I think there is. I think everyone in the band would admit it, even if they're too cool to admit it. It's very nice to be back together with our old buddies and playing music. So, you know, right now there's no complaints.
Good.
6 months from now, maybe people will be asking why the sandwiches are cut too small.
Hey, this isn't a swan song for you, is it? You're going to keep this up, right, for as long as you can? Jim Cuddy?
I think that getting back to making the Blue Rodeo record opened the door for more records. I think, first of all, we made it in an unusual style, which really seemed to work. Didn't put a lot of pressure on everybody. Everybody had their time to consider their parts and be able to change things. And so I think it's opened the door. And this tour looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We've only done one show, but we really love, bands always love their new songs, and we're no exception. We love our new songs, and we love playing them, and of course, we love the reception that all the songs get. So I don't know. I can't, like, we don't know how to do anything else, so what would we do? None of us golf.
Jim Cuddy, all the best tonight in Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Can't wait for you to come to Ottawa. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to being in Ottawa, too, so thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah, bye-bye. Blue Rodeo, Jim Cuddy. 2 weeks from today, that concert's at Canadian Tire Centre. I have 3 pairs of tickets to give away, and all you have to do to win a pair is call 750-1310 and tell me, what's the name of Blue Rodeo's latest album? 750-1310. We'll start with the 5th caller. The first 3 callers with the right answer, the name of Blue Rodeo's latest album, you're off to see them 2 weeks from today, Canadian Tire Centre. This is City News.
The Calgary Stampede is a world-renowned festival celebrating wrangling, bull riding, and everything cowboy. But did you know that many people credit its origins to a Black Canadian? Take a minute to meet John Ware. The word cowboy has racist roots. Before the American Civil War, white ranchers were called cowhands, but the enslaved black men and women working alongside them were actually referred to as cowboys to infantilize and disrespect black ranchers. The legend of cowboy John Ware is full of impressive feats and awe-inspiring skill, including the ability to train even the wildest broncos and easily hold a horse on its back. But the real story of John Ware is one that starts from more humble beginnings. Ware was born into slavery in the United States, gaining his freedom towards the end of the American Civil War in 1865. Ware's skills with cattle ranching developed as he traveled throughout the United States, eventually settling in a town southwest of present-day Calgary, Alberta, which made him one of the first black pioneers in the prairies. Over time, news of Ware and his amazing cowboy skills began to spread, and people came from across North America to witness his horsemanship and skills as a rancher. Eventually, Ware went on to own many of his own ranches. In 1892, he became the first man in Western Canada to earn the title of steer wrestler, and Ware's feats in local contests set the stage for the Calgary Stampede Rodeo we know today. In September of 1905, Ware was killed in a freak accident with his horse, and more than 10,000 mourners from across the region attended his funeral, making it one of the largest in Alberta history. Though his true story is difficult to separate from the legends around him, Ware's status as a respected forefather of cowboy skill continues to be celebrated today. Ware has dedicated monuments across Alberta, including several sites near his first ranch, a Calgary school in his namesake, and a building at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology.
Local news news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Friday, the 25th of March. Good morning, I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa, cloudy sky, 8 degrees. It's 7 in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news right now. The Premier is in Ottawa, putting another $29 million into the new Civic Hospital. The province calling it one of the largest planning grants in Ontario's history. It'll make the new Civic Hospital one of the largest and most advanced academic research hospitals in this country. Ottawa's mayor wants a review of policing in the Ottawa-Gatineau area. An intergovernmental working group would aim to ensure that all levels of police and security work more smoothly with each other in times of crisis, like the downtown occupation. The province appointing 3 new people to Ottawa's Police Services Board. Salim Fakariani is senior counsel with the Federal Department of Justice. Peter Henschel is a former deputy commissioner for specialized policing with the Mounties. Michael Doucette served as executive director of National Security and Intelligence Review Agency. The Police Services Board scheduled to meet on Monday. Ottawa City Councillor Catherine McKenney says they have tested positive for COVID-19. McKenney says they've contracted the virus after 2 years of isolating, masking, and getting vaccinated, and say that this is a reminder the pandemic is not over. City News Time, 11:32. I'm Jason White. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Strong voice.
Strong opinions.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
All right. Time for Queen's Park Week in Review. We almost have the gang all assembled. We're just getting our good friend John Fraser from Ottawa South, the Liberal from Ottawa South, on the line. But we do have joining us the Timmins New Democrat MPP, Gilles Bisson. Good morning, Gilles.
Good day, good day.
Hope you're well these days. Where are you, Gilles?
I'm in Toronto, actually. Today.
In Toronto. Okay,
yep.
Okay. Donna Skelly, Progressive Conservative MPP, Flamborough-Glanbrook. Where have we reached you today, Donna?
I'm in the Hammer.
In the Hammer. Okay. So look, Donna, at the federal level, you may have seen the news this week that the New Democrats and the Liberals are their BFFs now. What do you think the likelihood is that there could be some kind of either official or unofficial coalition in Ontario if your party can't manage to win a majority government? Do you think we'd see the same sort of arrangement in Ontario?
I think the New Democrats and the Liberals would consider it, but I can tell you I don't think you'll see a minority government. I've been knocking on doors for quite a while now, and I believe we will see a Conservative majority government on June 2nd. People are comfortable with what we have done in the past 4 years. They are recognizing that we're coming out of COVID in a very, I think, in a pretty good position. We are seeing the economy turn around after a dismal record left behind by the previous Liberal government that saw manufacturing decimated and jobs leave Ontario, and it's turned around with one announcement after another of the auto sector staying in Ontario and investing in Ontario.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into that.
But I think they will propose that they would.
I think if your party fails to win a majority government, they will boot you to the curb so fast you won't know what hit you. And yeah. So, Gilles and John.
Well,
Gilles and John.
Yep. First of all,
all right, go ahead, Gilles.
First of all, we don't know what's going to happen in the next election. This thing is a wide open election.
Wide open.
There could be an NDP government. There could be a Conservative government. I think it's less likely to have a Liberal government. So let's not presume we know what the voters are going to do. There's still a campaign to go. Clearly, the government has, been converted on the way to Damascus, called the election. They spent the last 3 years dismantling things like charging stations on roadsides and programs that help you develop, the industry to have electric cars in Ontario. They were opposed to everything. Now, all of a sudden, they're throwing money at everything. I just got a brand new long-term care facility in my riding. I am very excited. I think it's great news. But where were they for?
So you're voting for the PCs in the election, then, Gilles?
No. There's no danger that's going to happen. But let me get back. Let me get back to what's going on in Ottawa. What's happening in Ottawa is called Parliament. Jagmeet Singh and you Democrats ran in the last election and said, if we're elected, we're going to fight like hell to be able to bring dental care and pharmacare to Canadians. And guess what? They got elected. They ended up in a minority situation, and they have an ability to be able to affect the outcome. So, of course, you're going to be able to, you're going to use your ability to be able to make things happen. And they got one hell of a deal. The Liberals didn't want to do pharmacare. They didn't want to do dental care.
Well, there's no pharmacare or dental care deal yet. We are talking about the Liberals, Gilles.
No, but,
okay.
But listen, the deal, the way it's structured is, in the first year, everybody under 12 and everybody over 65 gets dental care. If the government doesn't do that, well, then your Democrats will vote against the government. It's as simple as that. But that's how Parliament works. To listen to Conservatives, everybody should just go to Ottawa and say, I hate Justin Trudeau. I don't like Justin Trudeau. I want to let you know I didn't vote for him. I voted for Charlie Angus.
All right.
But my point is, you don't go to Parliament just to yell at the Prime Minister. You go there to get things done, and it seems to me that Jagmeet's done a great job.
Well, I'll tell you what, ever since it's been a progressive Conservative government, I have to say, Gilles and John have been a lot more kind to each other. When the Liberals were in power, Gilles was not this friendly to John, at least during this panel anyway.
You heard me yelling a couple of
bad
times.
memories. Poor John's ears were burning. John Fraser, Liberal MP, Liberal MPP, Ottawa South. I mean, are you ready to team up with the New Democrats in the case of a minority outcome in the next election? I mean, it's could be a tight election. It's tough to win a majority government.
Look, I'm just focused on getting out and knocking on doors and winning the next election.
Yeah.
Helping the people who are running in our party win the next election.
Okay.
And so it's hard to look out 2 months to see where we're going to be. And I just do want to say, is I see Gilles just about every morning at Queen's Park when I go to grab a coffee. So
and he's the brunt of my humor.
He's the brunt of my humor. And at John Van Toff, they pick on me every morning. They wait for me to get there. So it's not as amicable, although it's not really that nasty as you might think. Look, people, when we get elected, no matter who gets elected, whatever formula it is, they expect us to work together to do the things that are important to them, which is things like hospitals and schools and making sure that the economy is good and that people have jobs, that our kids will have jobs, trying to solve things like housing. They expect us to work together. And that comes in a whole bunch of different forms. You see one in Ottawa right now. But it's like in the last Parliament, when we were in government, we would sit down and actually work out with the opposition, in terms of how we did things in the House. Like, we want to get this legislation forward. What can we, there was a bit of, I want to say trade-offs, but working together to get legislation through, but also giving the opposition a chance to oppose and to put other things forward. And so, people expect us to work together. They know we're going to fight. They know we're going to get on the show, Parliament, we're going to fight. But at the end of the day, if we don't actually get things done, then it's a pox on all our houses, right?
Like, here's what people like me. Yeah, go ahead, Donna. Go ahead. Jump in there.
You're talking as if you've been cooperating with our government. You have voted against every single measure we've brought forward. We wanted to invest in. Seriously,
actually,
you voted against all of the. Yes, you did.
No, I voted with you guys a couple times. I have.
On what?
Well, I'd have to go back and look, but at the beginning of the pandemic, I voted with you at least unanimously 4 or 5 times. So did Gilles. The things that we had to do in the pandemic, we supported the government fully. We cut down debate time. So I work with you. I'm more than willing, and so is Gilles. We don't have House Leaders meetings anymore. Your House Leader doesn't meet with us. That never happened while we were in Parliament, and that's important to make Parliament work. And I'm not trying to be. That's just the way it is. I'm not trying to pick on you.
All right,
that's what's happening.
I guess if I could just jump in here, I guess just given this deal that's happened in Ottawa here this week between Mr. Singh and Mr. Trudeau, some of us say more right of center. We're wondering, like, what is the difference between a New Democrat and a Liberal these days? We just don't see a lot of difference between New Democrats and Liberals these days. Are you why don't you guys just get together once and for all?
Rob, first of all, there's a huge difference. That Liberals
well, what's the difference? What's the difference?
Hang on. Let me go.
Go ahead.
The Liberals and Tories have more in common together than they have with us. So you just have to look at their voting record. Mr. Trudeau did not want to do pharmacare. He did not want to do dental care. He voted against it in the House. And the only reason Jagmeet Singh has been successful is that he said, listen, okay, I'll support your next 3 budgets. That's the only thing I'm committing to if those things are in the budget. What do you expect people to do when they get elected? And as for Ontario, we're not making any deals with the Liberals or the Tories. That is way, way, way like off base when it comes to what needs to be done. We have an election to run. And just to the last point to Donna, listen, the Tories voted 52% of the time with the Liberals when they were in office. Every political party votes with the government on certain measures. We have, the Tories have, and so did the Liberals. So to make it look as if, oh my God, we voted against every measure the Conservatives ever put. We voted against the bad ones, but we voted for the good ones. We just voted for the broadband bill. And there's other bills to come that we'll vote in favor of. That's the way it is.
Yeah. I don't know. John, what's the difference between a New Democrat and a Liberal these days? What's the difference?
There's lots of differences. I think that, to be Jill may not like this, it's been a long time since the NDP were in government, a long time. And
it'll be a longer time until you get to government.
Well, don't speak so quickly. They said that in 20.
Your coalition at work right here, Donna. Here's the coalition at work.
Keep ripping yourselves apart, guys.
They're already
no problem.
No, so I think the thing is that when you get to government, you realize that you only get so many choices. And it's easy in opposition to say you can choose everything. And
not
you
answering
can't.
the question.
You can't.
Come on, answer the question, John.
I'm answering the question. Is that's the difference. I think we're realistic in terms of the things that we can do in setting what our priorities are. We all share the same priorities.
I'm not hearing a lot of difference here. I'm not hearing a lot of difference.
Donna, hello, Donna. What you're saying is just, Donna, you realize you can't do everything. The hardest thing about our job is doing all the things that you want to do to help people.
We have
do them all, and I just think I believe that the NDP thinks we can do all of that. And the reality is, it's a balance, and that's the difference.
What's the difference between a New Democrat and a Liberal? John, what is the difference? What's the difference between your parties?
What's the difference between your party? What's your difference between your party and the People's Party? Given your support for the,
we're far more fiscally responsible. We're far more.
Can I get in?
Well, the only one who came close to being a member of the People's Party was kicked out of the Progressive Conservative Party. Randy Hillier was kicked out of the Progressive Conservative Party. Mr. Barber was kicked out of the Conservative Party caucus.
Rob, can I make a point?
Go ahead, Gilles. Yeah, sorry.
Back in the Bill Davis days, and we all agreed Bill Davis was a progressive premier. You know why? He had two minority parliaments with Stephen Lewis, and Stephen Lewis pushed Mr. Davis to do a number of things, including creating what we now have as an Ontario college system. That's how Parliament works. Political parties get elected in order to advance their agenda, and whoever's there, they try to advance the agenda. And
right. Your party supported Dalton McGuinty, and we got a couple of canceled gas plants, I guess, for that deal.
And the highest hydro rate in the world.
Nothing to do with us. We voted against all of those measures. Yeah. Let's correct the record.
Okay, when we come back, our MPPs have hinted at it. Going electric. Big money from the Ford government into the electric car industry. Does this make Doug Ford the greenest premier ever? This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
You've been busy. You've now written your 10th book. Let's talk about the latest book and the idea behind it, Amanda.
Thanks. So it's called Chair Exercises for Fall Prevention. I've written 6 exercise guides now, 4 of them specifically designed for seniors and adults who maybe want to work on their balance and fall prevention. All of the exercises in this book are done sitting in a chair so that you can work your balance, your posture, strength and flexibility without having to stand up and move around.
Yeah, and fall's very important in that demographic that you specifically work with, Amanda. Let's talk about falls and injury prevention and why it's so incredibly important.
So falls are the leading cause of injury for older adults, and 20 to 30% of them have 1 or more falls every year. We know that they cause 85% of seniors injury-related hospitalizations. So, the challenge is once you've fallen once, you're more likely to fall again. And one of the reasons is that in addition to injuring yourself and maybe losing some muscle strength when you're injured and recovering, it also impacts people's confidence about getting up and moving around. Certain health conditions that we're to as we get older, like arthritis, stroke, multiple sclerosis, or Parkinson's, impact our balance too. So we need to, keep moving, keep using our muscles, keep building strength, but in a safe way so that, we can make sure enjoying our golden years.
Well, and a good example is the work that you do with your parents. Each and every week you go through exercises with your parents, and you were telling me off screen that, your dad was actually on the show with us quite a few years ago. And now he's doing those chair exercises, and you've received feedback, or he has in particular from his doctor, said, that's just as important as doing some of those other mobility exercises, right?
Absolutely. And, sometimes his back is bothering him, or some joints might be impacting how comfortable he is standing for a long period of time. So, he said he prefers for most of the time when we're doing the exercises over video to do chair exercises. So I had created, a chair exercise workout that I'm doing with my parents every week. And it's helping tremendously. So that's where I got the idea to do this book. I thought, there aren't a lot of chair exercise books out there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great chair yoga books, but not everybody wants to do yoga. So I wanted to just focus specifically on strength exercises that you can do while seated.
Is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
So we're back. It's Queen's Park Week in Review. MPPs are with us. Donna, Skelly, Progressive Conservative. John Fraser, Liberal. Gilles Bisson is a New Democrat. So let's go through all of these electric car announcements recently from the Ford government. We have Stellantis and LG Energy Solutions. $5 billion. Okay, Stellantis is what we used to call Chrysler, but old-timers like me call that Chrysler. Large-scale electric vehicle battery plant in Windsor. Okay, $5 billion. So in addition to that, $91 million toward installing electric vehicle chargers at highway rest stops, carpool parking lots, parks, and hockey arenas. And both the federal and provincial governments are putting in $130 million each into the Honda plant. I think that's in Cambridge, if I'm not mistaken, Honda, or maybe Alliston, to help Honda pivot to produce hybrid electric vehicles. So I think this, Donna, makes Doug Ford quite likely the greenest premier ever. What do you think?
I think you are right. Look, this is the largest auto investment in the history of this province. And I think what we're doing and what you're seeing is that we are creating an environment that the auto sector recognizes is stable. They realize they have a good partner to work with. And we are attracting and retaining jobs in the sector. When we were elected, and that was less than 4 years ago, this sector was decimated. And I've said it many times, but hundreds of thousands of jobs left Ontario. One of the biggest issues was the cost of hydro and the fact that there was so much red tape, businesses didn't feel they could operate under the then Liberal government. Today you've got a premier and a government that wants to work with the sector, build a green auto sector, whether it's the investment that you mentioned in Honda, in Alliston, or the Windsor investment, the largest, again, $5 billion in Windsor. We are creating an environment, and the world is looking at us as a place to do business. We have the tools to do it. We have the skilled labor. We're investing in training and hiring people in the trades so that they can work in these plants. And, of course, we are creating the conditions for them to operate and to thrive.
Okay. Did I hear groaning when I suggested that Premier Ford may be the greenest premier ever here?
That was
actually, the electric cars, as long as they're charged, will actually drive. Unlike, windmills, when there's no wind, the windmills are basically pylons. So, Gilles, what's wrong with my analysis? Gilles, what's wrong?
Well, your analysis fails to recognize a couple of things. One is the first thing that Mr. Ford did when he came in with his government, he got rid of most of the programs that were put in place in order to support the electric car industry. He ripped out the charging stations along highways that he's now putting back in. He's dismantled a number of programs that assisted people to be able to move electric as far as getting cars. So now, guess what?
Yeah, but again, your party still thinks that we should give subsidies to wealthy people so they can buy electric cars.
Listen, we give all kinds of subsidies to wealthy people. Take a look at the oil industry. So let's not go there. My point is that all of a sudden the government's done a bunch of polling and they're finding out that people are concerned about the environment. Well, imagine that.
No, they're concerned about the price of gas is what they're concerned about.
Well, and that's why you should support my gas price regulation bill, but that's another debate. But my point is, the government's finally figured out that there is people that are concerned by a majority over what's happening in the environment, and they're trying to move in that direction. Number two is the government. These investments would have happened anyway. Do you think they just happened anyway because it was a conservative government? The largest investment in auto happened years ago in this province when we used to have GM in Ottawa. GM closed in Oshawa. Oshawa.
Yeah.
GM closed in Oshawa under the conservative government. The Chrysler plant throttled down to 2 shifts from 1 shift. There's been all kinds of loss of jobs in the auto industry under the Tories. For them to say this is the wonderful, best thing that ever happened is a bit of a stretch. The reality is, industry is looking to invest because they know they've got to go the way of electric. I'm looking at buying electric next time around. If I can get something that drives from Toronto to Timmins, I will do it.
You should get one of those Tesla trucks, Gilles. You'd look great in a Tesla truck.
They're not there yet. I believe it'd still be a Ford. I love my Ford F-150. Those are the great vehicles. But my point is, those investments would have happened under an NDP government. They would have happened under...
Would have happened anyway.
It would have happened.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. What do you think, John? I mean, it doesn't top what Kathleen Wynne did, flying Al Gore here not once but twice, but it's pretty good,
Well, look, I think, first of all, there's nothing like an election to focus one's attention. And we can see that the premier's had a green epiphany.
Green epiphany.
And we're getting close to Easter, so I thought I would phrase it that way. Look, it's a good thing. There's no question about that. But to say that, Doug Forth's the guy who tore a charging stations, spent hundreds of millions of dollars getting rid of green energy, fired the environmental
God bless him.
commissioner.
God bless him for that, by the way.
And now he's and now he wants to be Mr. Green. And good on him. We'll see how long that lasts. But I do want to remind Donna that at the time of the Great Recession, when Ontario's auto industry was at risk, billions of dollars were put into auto companies. So, I know this is a big announcement. It's really good. But I don't think you can lay claim to being the savior of the auto industry. In fact, Tim Hudak and your party voted against that support for Ontario's auto industry. So I'm glad that we're doing those measures that we saw the last couple of days. They're good things. It would have been better if the premier started out that way instead of taking 3 years to get there. And 6 weeks away from election, he's scrambling to slap a coat of green paint on.
What we started out with was wanting to get rid of the carbon tax. And you what?
You brought the carbon tax.
We did not want, and what we're seeing today is what you have highest energy prices I've ever seen, and hopefully they will eventually go down. But let's be honest. The Liberals, when we took power, and the reason I ran was the policies were pushing all kinds of manufacturing jobs out of Ontario. There is a complete reversal now under this government. We're seeing it. The economy is on fire. And whether it's green or anything else, they have confidence to invest in Ontario. And I'll go back to our very first question, and that's why you're going to see a majority government in June.
Okay.
Conservative majority government.
Final quick thing. John and I are here in the Ottawa area. Gilles is in Toronto, but spends time in Northern Ontario. You're in Hamilton, so Southern Ontario. I really haven't seen a lot of change in behavior in people when it comes to wearing masks. It seems like it's status quo, at least here in the Ottawa area, John. That's my impression. Would you agree, John, with wearing masks?
I agree. I go around most people in the supermarket and a lot of places, and there's more people not wearing them, but still the majority of people by far.
Yeah, and that's why it's optional, right? So, Gilles, what was your impression with the masks this week?
Well, here in downtown Toronto, I noticed that most people are wearing masks. I went to the grocery store yesterday. There wasn't anybody there without a mask. But when I went to the mall on Monday or Sunday last week before I left in Timmins, And I would say 20-30% were not wearing masks. And there were people that were uncomfortable.
Okay. All right. What about in your part of Ontario, in Hamilton, Donna?
Similar to what Gilles said, in Toronto, a lot of people are wearing masks, but when I came back to Hamilton, there are more people not wearing masks. So I'm wondering if it's a bigger city, smaller city issue. I'm not sure. But again, it's the reality is you have the option. So if you don't feel comfortable, put your mask on.
Okay. Well, thanks to all three of you for this week. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
Yep, all the best, and we'll speak soon. Donna Skelly, Progressive Conservative MPP, Flamborough-Glanbrook. John Fraser, Liberal MPP, Ottawa South. And Gilles Bisson, NDP, MPP for Timmins. That's it for the Rob Snow Show. Sam LaPrade right after the noon news from our great news team here at City News.
The Rob Snow Show.
Weekdays 9 to noon on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley.
This program is brought to you by OHL Action Pack. Looking to see tomorrow's stars today? Follow the teams and players you want to watch. OHL Action Pack is part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack.
Call the Rogers TV